What if the most unpredictable ninja in Konoha suddenly became the coldest, most analytical killer in the universe? What if Naruto Uzumaki wasn't just a Jinchuriki, but the reincarnation of the fourth Espada himself, Ulquiorra Cifer? Imagine shadow clones powered by Cero blasts, Rasengan infused with hollow energy, and a Naruto who sees emotions as nothing but trash. Today, we're diving into the most insane crossover story ever conceived, where the will of fire meets the heart of emptiness. This isn't your typical Naruto tale. This is the story of how one reincarnation changed everything. Let's get started.
The Awakening. The night air in Konoha hung heavy with silence. 6-year-old Naruto Uzumaki sat alone on his apartment balcony, blue eyes fixed on the moon. Another day of being ignored, of whispers following him through the village streets. Another day of pretending the isolation didn't hurt. Something changed that night. As moonlight washed over him, Naruto's mind erupted with foreign images. A vast desert of white sand, a dome-like fortress rising against an eternal night, beings in white uniforms with broken masks, and himself, taller, paler, with emerald tear tracks streaking down his face and a hollow hole through his chest. Naruto gasped, clutching his head as memories cascaded through him. Not his memories, someone else's, someone called Ulquiorra Cifer. "What is this?" he whispered, his voice suddenly lacking its usual energy. The memories continued flooding in, fighting an orange-haired boy with a massive sword, transforming into a bat-like creature of immense power, and at the end, reaching out toward a woman with long auburn hair as his body disintegrated into ash. When dawn broke, Naruto Uzumaki was no longer the same child. He stood, examining his hands with analytical detachment. His posture had changed, straight-backed and composed. His eyes, once bright with childish enthusiasm, now held a calculating coldness. "These humans," he murmured, observing the village coming to life below. "They fear what they don't understand." How predictable. Naruto walked to the mirror, studying his reflection. Blonde hair, whisker marks, blue eyes, all the same. But behind those eyes lived the memories and personality of the Quattro Espada, the embodiment of emptiness. "I died reaching for understanding," he said to his reflection. "Now I've been reborn with a second chance." He placed a hand over his chest. No hollow hole, not physically at least. But he could feel the spiritual energy coursing through him, waiting to be unleashed. Hierro, Sonido, Cero, all dormant but accessible. When Naruto walked through the village that morning, his changed demeanor drew notice. Gone was the loud, attention-seeking child. In his place strode a silent, observant figure whose eyes seemed to evaluate everything and everyone. At the academy, Iruka-sensei noticed immediately. "Naruto, are you feeling well today?" "I am functioning adequately," Naruto replied, his voice flat. "Your concern is unnecessary." Iruka blinked in surprise as Naruto took his seat back straight, hands folded. No pranks, no outbursts, just eerie composure. During shuriken practice, Naruto's throws demonstrated perfect precision, each weapon hitting dead center. When Sasuke Uchiha scoffed at him, Naruto merely turned, fixing him with an emotionless stare. "Your rivalry means nothing to me. Strength is not proven through petty competitions." Sasuke's eyes widened. "What did you say, dead last?" "Your hearing appears functional," Naruto replied. "I won't repeat myself." That afternoon, a group of older students cornered Naruto behind the academy. The leader cracked his knuckles. "Heard you've been acting tough, demon brat." Naruto observed them dispassionately. "Attacking me would be unwise." They laughed and charged. Naruto moved, not with the body flicker technique, but with Sonido, a burst of spiritual speed that left only a static sound in his wake. He appeared behind the group, having not even raised his hands. "What the?" one began, before Naruto spoke. "Had I wished it, you would all be unconscious now." "Leave." The boys ran, and Naruto continued walking, testing his new abilities. He could feel Hierro hardening his skin, making it like iron. His regeneration was active too. A small cut on his finger from a kunai earlier had already healed. That night, Naruto slipped out of the village unnoticed. In a clearing deep in the forest, he raised his index finger toward a boulder. Cero. Green energy gathered and fired in a concentrated beam, disintegrating the massive stone. The destruction satisfied something within him, proof that his power was real, not mere delusion. I need to understand the full extent of these abilities, he mused, and their relationship to this world's chakra. Days passed. Naruto began systematic training, combining ninja techniques with his Arrancar abilities. He created shadow clones and had them attack him, testing his Hierro's resistance to various jutsu. He practiced Sonido until he could cross the entire village in seconds. He developed a chakra-enhanced Cero that could be controlled directionally after firing. The third Hokage summoned him after reports of strange green lights in training grounds at night. Naruto-kun, Hiruzen said gently, the Anbu tell me you've been practicing unusual techniques. Care to explain? Naruto met the old man's gaze directly. I have awakened to my true nature, Hokage-sama. I possess abilities beyond normal shinobi. What sort of abilities? In response, Naruto placed his hand on the Hokage's desk and channeled a miniature Cero. The energy burned a perfect circle through the wood. Impressive, Hiruzen said, hiding his concern. Where did you learn this? I didn't learn it. I remembered it. Naruto's blue eyes seemed to flash green momentarily. I am the reincarnation of something called an Arrancar, a hollow who removed his mask to gain Shinigami powers. The Hokage stared at him. Naruto, these terms mean nothing to me. They wouldn't. Your world has no knowledge of Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, or the balance between them. Naruto's voice remained monotone. But I carry the memories and powers of Ulquiorra Cifer, the fourth Espada who served under Lord Aizen. Hiruzen sighed, rubbing his temples. The Nine Tails influence, perhaps? But this seemed different, more coherent, more controlled. Naruto, whatever is happening to you is beneficial, Naruto finished. I am stronger, faster, and more tactically minded than before. I will become an asset to this village rather than its burden. The change in Naruto became village-wide knowledge within weeks. Children whispered about how he could move faster than the eye could see. Academy instructors reported his sudden mastery of skills he'd previously failed. And shinobi who encountered him training noted the strange green energy he could manifest at will. Sakura Haruno approached him during lunch one day, curious about the transformation. Naruto, is it true you can shoot energy from your hands now? He regarded her with disinterest. Yes. Could you show me? What purpose would that serve? Sakura frowned. I just want to see it. Naruto pointed his finger at an apple core 20 feet away. Green light flashed and the apple core vanished, leaving a scorch mark on the ground. Satisfied? He asked. That's incredible, Sakura whispered. How do you do that? It's called Cero, a condensed beam of spiritual pressure. Can you teach others? No, it requires being part hollow, which none of you are. When graduation day arrived, Naruto performed flawlessly, creating perfect shadow clones that displayed the same emotionless demeanor as the original. Iruka presented him with a headband, which Naruto tied around his arm rather than his forehead. Congratulations, Naruto, Iruka said warmly. You've improved remarkably. Improvement implies I was lacking before, Naruto replied. I simply awakened dormant potential. Team assignments placed him with Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno under Kakashi Hatake. During the bell test, Naruto approached his teammates analytically. The objective requires teamwork, he stated. Individually, we cannot overcome a Jonin. Sasuke scoffed. I don't need help from either of you. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Your pride is trash. Strategy is everything. What did you call me? Sasuke demanded. If you cannot set aside your ego for tactical advantage, you are trash, Naruto repeated, echoing words Ulquiorra once lived by. Despite the tension, Naruto coordinated their efforts. He used Sonido to distract Kakashi while Sasuke attacked from another angle. When Kakashi countered, Naruto's Hierro allowed him to block a kick that should have sent him flying. The Jonin's visible eye widened in surprise. Interesting defense, Naruto, Kakashi noted. Your skin feels like steel. Hierro, Naruto explained, the iron skin of an Arrancar. Through calculated teamwork, they successfully retrieved the bells. Kakashi passed them, though his report to the Hokage expressed concern about Naruto's abilities and detached personality. Their first C-rank mission to Wave Country revealed the full extent of Naruto's transformation. When Zabuza Momochi attacked, Naruto analyzed the situation instantaneously. Demon of the Mist, a fitting title, though you are no true hollow. Zabuza laughed. Big talk from a genin. Naruto used Sonido to appear directly before Zabuza. I am no ordinary genin. He fired a Cero at point-blank range. Zabuza barely dodged, the beam grazing his shoulder and continuing to blast through several trees behind him. What the hell kind of jutsu is that? Zabuza growled, clutching his burned arm. Not jutsu, Cero. Naruto raised his finger again. This is what true emptiness looks like. Kakashi intervened, using his Sharingan to battle Zabuza, while ordering his team to protect Tazuna. When Haku arrived to kill Zabuza, Naruto's eyes narrowed. Deception, he stated flatly. The Hunter Nin is his accomplice. During their second encounter on the bridge, Naruto found himself trapped in Haku's crystal ice mirrors. Senbon needles struck him from all directions, but bounced off his Hierro. Impossible, Haku gasped from behind his mask. No one has ever. Your weapons cannot penetrate my Hierro, Naruto explained, unharmed despite dozens of needles littering the ground around him, and your speed is nothing compared to Sonido. To demonstrate, Naruto vanished in a burst of static sound, reappearing outside the ice dome. Haku's shock was evident even behind his mask. What are you? Haku asked. In my previous existence, I was the embodiment of emptiness, Naruto replied. In this life, I am something new, something evolving. When Sasuke was wounded protecting Naruto unnecessarily given his Hierro, something unexpected happened. Naruto felt concern, a flicker of emotion where Ulquiorra's memories suggested there should be none. You acted to protect me, Naruto observed, kneeling beside Sasuke. Why? Sasuke coughed, his body pierced by Senbon. My body moved on its own. I don't know. This sacrifice, this human connection, stirred something in Naruto. The cold, analytical part of him designated it as irrational, yet he could not dismiss it entirely. Naruto stood facing Haku. You have harmed my teammate. For that, you will witness my true form. Green spiritual energy erupted around him. His body transformed, skin paling to white, a hollow hole manifesting in his chest, tear-like green markings streaking down his face. A partial mask fragment formed on the left side of his head. Resurrección primera etapa, Naruto announced. The bridge trembled under the pressure of his spiritual energy. Haku stepped back, truly afraid now. What are you? I am Ulquiorra Cifer, Quattro Espada, Naruto replied, his voice echoing with power, and you have witnessed something no human in this world has seen before. The battle ended swiftly. Naruto's enhanced speed and strength overwhelmed Haku completely. When Gato arrived with his mercenaries, Naruto turned his cold gaze upon them. Trash, he pronounced, before unleashing a wide-area Cero that decimated their forces. The villagers of Wave Country regarded Naruto with awe and fear after that. They named the bridge after him, the Great Naruto Bridge, though many whispered about the pale demon who had saved them. On the journey back to Konoha, Sasuke confronted Naruto. What was that power, and why didn't you use it from the beginning? It is called Resurrección, Naruto explained. The release of my sealed hollow form. I did not use it immediately because it would have been excessive. Teach me, Sasuke demanded. Impossible. You lack the fundamental nature required. Naruto observed Sasuke's frustration with detachment. Your Sharingan cannot copy spiritual abilities that exist beyond chakra. Kakashi reported everything to the Hokage upon their return. The revelation of Naruto's transformation capabilities concerned the village leadership greatly. We need to understand the extent of these powers, Hiruzen said, and ensure they pose no threat to Konoha. With respect, Hokage-sama, Naruto responded when summoned. My abilities make me an asset, not a threat, unless the village itself becomes my enemy. The Chunin exams approached, and Naruto's team entered despite reservations from the council. During the Forest of Death, they encountered Orochimaru disguised as a grass ninja. Interesting, Orochimaru hissed, observing Naruto. I sense something beyond chakra in you, boy. And I sense something hollow in you, Naruto replied. But not the kind I'm familiar with. You're empty in a different way. Orochimaru attacked, targeting Sasuke for his Sharingan. When his neck extended to bite Sasuke, Naruto intercepted with Sonido, grabbing the snake Sanin's throat. Your techniques are unsightly, Naruto stated. He channeled a Cero through his grip. Orochimaru barely substituted in time, his replacement body burning to ash. Fascinating! Orochimaru laughed. His face partially melted to reveal his true appearance. What magnificent power! Perhaps I've been pursuing the wrong bloodline. Your interest is irrelevant, Naruto replied. Your existence ends here. The battle that followed devastated a section of the forest. Naruto's Primera Etapa transformation forced Orochimaru to fight seriously. Green Ceros blasted through ancient trees. Sonido and Body Flicker created sonic booms as the two combatants moved faster than the eye could track. Ultimately, Orochimaru retreated, recognizing that Naruto's power exceeded his current capabilities. But his interest had shifted. The vessel of the Nine Tails now seemed more valuable than the last Uchiha. I'll be watching your development with great interest, Naruto-kun, Orochimaru called as he disappeared into the forest. Naruto stood motionless, his transformation receding. He fled, disappointing. Sasuke and Sakura stared at their teammate in awe and fear. Naruto, Sakura whispered, what exactly are you? For the first time, Naruto hesitated before answering. I am becoming something new, neither fully Ulquiorra nor fully Naruto. The heart I once questioned, I am beginning to understand it. They completed the second exam efficiently, with Naruto's abilities deterring most competing teams from even approaching them. During the preliminary matches, Naruto faced Kiba Inuzuka. You may forfeit, Naruto offered as they faced each other in the arena. Your abilities cannot harm me. Big talk, Kiba snarled. Let's see how tough you are against Fang over Fang. The spinning attack struck Naruto directly and stopped dead against his Hierro. Kiba and Akamaru bounced off, stunned. What the? Kiba gasped. Hierro, Naruto explained calmly. Now, shall I demonstrate Cero, or do you concede? Kiba wisely forfeited. In the month before the finals, Naruto trained alone, refining his control over both chakra and spiritual energy. He developed hybrid techniques, a Rasengan infused with Cero energy that could disintegrate rather than just impact, and shadow clones that could each perform Sonido independently. When the finals arrived, Naruto's match against Neji Hyuga was highly anticipated. The Hyuga prodigy had declared victory was his destiny. Destiny is trash, Naruto replied. In my previous life, I believed in nihilism, that nothing mattered, that hearts were illusions. I was wrong. Previous life? Neji scoffed. Your delusions won't help you against the Gentle Fist. The match began. Neji struck with perfect Gentle Fist technique, only to find his fingers unable to penetrate Naruto's Hierro. Impossible, Neji exclaimed. No one can resist the Gentle Fist. I am not no one, Naruto replied. I'm the reincarnation of Ulquiorra Cifer. He demonstrated Sonido, appearing behind Neji faster than even Byakugan could track. Rather than striking, however, Naruto spoke. Your cage is self-imposed. True emptiness is what I once was, seeing nothing, feeling nothing. You merely choose to see nothing beyond your own suffering. These words, surprisingly empathetic from the typically emotionless Naruto, struck Neji harder than any physical blow. The match ended with Naruto's victory, though he deliberately avoided seriously injuring his opponent. This restraint, this mercy, was new, another sign of his evolving nature. When Sand and Sound invaded during Sasuke's match with Gaara, Naruto immediately recognized the threat. He pursued Gaara while Konoha's forces battled the invaders. Confronting the partially transformed Jinchuriki in the forest, Naruto observed him analytically. You house a spirit within you, as I once housed emptiness, as I still house the Nine Tails. Gaara's sand swirled menacingly. Mother wants your blood. Your tailed beast is not your mother, Naruto replied, and your emptiness is different from what I once knew. Gaara attacked, sand engulfing the area. Naruto's Hierro resisted the crushing pressure, while his Sonido allowed him to evade the most concentrated assaults. Let me show you true emptiness, Naruto said, entering his Primera Etapa. The transformation shocked Gaara enough to momentarily halt his attack. What are you? I am what exists between human and hollow, Naruto answered, neither fully alive nor dead, neither demon nor angel. Their battle escalated as Gaara completed his transformation into Shukaku. Naruto responded by pushing further. Segunda Etapa, he announced. His transformation advanced, large black wings erupted from his back, his lower body became covered in dark fur, and a long whip-like tail extended behind him. Horns grew from his mask fragment, and his spiritual pressure intensified exponentially. This is my true form, Naruto stated, his voice distorted. The form that represents despair. The battle between transformed Jinchuriki and Segunda Etapa Arrancar Reincarnation devastated the forest. Ceros and tailed beast bombs created massive craters. Sonido and sand manipulation generated windstorms that uprooted trees. In the end, Naruto prevailed by reaching the human within the beast, not through friendship as his original self might have, but through understanding. Your existence has meaning beyond being a weapon, Naruto told the defeated Gaara. I too am learning this. We are not merely vessels for power. The invasion was repelled, though the third Hokage fell in battle against Orochimaru. In the aftermath, Naruto stood on the Hokage monument, contemplating the changes within himself. I came to this life carrying memories of emptiness, he murmured, yet I find myself filling with something else. The village looked to its future, and Naruto Uzumaki, the reincarnation of Ulquiorra Cifer, prepared for the next chapter in his existence. The awakening was complete. Now began the path of the Hollow Ninja, the Hollow's path. 3 months after the invasion, Konoha had mostly rebuilt. Tsunade Senju had reluctantly accepted the position of 5th Hokage, her decision influenced by an unusual encounter with Naruto. "So you're the brat everyone's talking about," she had said upon meeting him. "The one who can shoot green energy and move faster than the eye can see." Naruto had studied her with his typical analytical gaze. "Your cellular regeneration technique is fascinating. In some ways, it resembles my high-speed regeneration, though the mechanism differs completely." High-speed regeneration? Tsunade raised an eyebrow. In response, Naruto had drawn a kunai and sliced his own palm deeply. Before the blood could even drip, the wound closed, leaving unblemished skin. "Impressive," Tsunade admitted. "Is this related to your previous existence?" "Yes. Arrancar possessed regenerative capabilities, though mine were limited to non-vital organs. In this reincarnation, the ability has expanded." Now, as a Chunin promoted after the exams, Naruto stood before Tsunade in her office, receiving a specialized mission. Reports describe unusual energy disturbances at the border of Fire Country, Tsunade explained. Witnesses mention holes in the sky and masked creatures. Given your unique background, I believe you're best equipped to investigate. Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly. These sound like Garganta and Hollows, entities from Hueco Mundo accessing this world. Can you handle them? Yes, but this development is concerning. The boundaries between worlds should not be this permeable. Naruto departed alone, moving with Sonido to cover ground rapidly. At the border region, he immediately sensed the disturbance, spiritual pressure leaking into the physical world. Following this sensation led him to a small farming village where terrified residents spoke of invisible monsters that had taken several villagers. That night, Naruto waited. Just after midnight, the air split open, a garganta forming to connect Hueco Mundo with the ninja world. From this dimensional tier emerged several low-level hollows, their white masks gleaming in the moonlight, their holes prominent in their chests. "Souls," they moaned, sensing the living humans nearby. "Delicious souls." Naruto appeared before them, his spiritual pressure causing them to hesitate. "You do not belong in this world," he stated. The hollows recoiled. "An Arrancar? Here? I am Ulquiorra Cifer, reborn," Naruto explained. "How are you crossing between worlds without authorization?" The largest hollow laughed. "The barriers weaken. Soon, all worlds will be accessible. The hunger will be satisfied." Naruto raised his finger. "Your existence ends here." Green Ceros dispatched the hollows efficiently, their bodies disintegrating, but the garganta remained open. Naruto approached it cautiously, sensing something else coming through, something stronger. An Ajuchas-class Minos emerged, a evolved hollow with greater intelligence and power. It resembled a serpent with 6 arms, its mask elongated and fanged. "Arrancar," it hissed upon seeing Naruto. "You are far from Las Noches." "Las Noches fell with Aizen's defeat," Naruto replied. "How long ago did you leave Hueco Mundo?" "Time flows differently between realms," the Ajuchas said, "but the power vacuum has created opportunities. The boundaries between worlds grow thin." The creature attacked with surprising speed. Naruto blocked with Hierro reinforced arms, then countered with Sonido and a point-blank Cero. The Ajuchas screamed as half its mask shattered. "Impossible! You're merely a child in this world." "I contain the power and memories of the Quattro Espada," Naruto stated. "Your power is nothing compared to mine." The battle was brief but destructive. The Ajuchas fired Cero-like attacks that Naruto either dodged or absorbed. When it attempted to retreat into the Garganta, Naruto used Sonido to intercept it. "Before I destroy you," Naruto said, "tell me why hollows are suddenly appearing in this world." The Ajuchas laughed despite its injuries. "The spiritual awakening has begun. This world is becoming aware of the others, and where awareness grows, so do the pathways." With those cryptic words, the hollow attempted one final attack. Naruto entered Primera Etapa and destroyed it with a Lanza del Relámpago, a javelin of concentrated spiritual energy. The Garganta closed with the Ajuchas' death, but Naruto sensed residual spiritual pressure throughout the area. This incursion was not isolated. Returning to Konoha, Naruto reported his findings to Tsunade. "Hollows are spiritual entities that devour human souls," he explained. "Normally, they exist in a parallel dimension called Hueco Mundo and cannot freely access the physical world. The fact that they're appearing here indicates a fundamental shift in the spiritual boundaries." "And what does that mean for us?" Tsunade asked. "It means this world is becoming spiritually aware," Naruto replied. "And with awareness comes both power and danger." In the weeks that followed, Naruto began systematic training to combine his Shinobi and Arrancar abilities more effectively. He created a training regimen that no ordinary ninja could survive, using hundreds of shadow clones to practice different aspects simultaneously. Some clones worked on infusing jutsu with spiritual energy. Others practiced maintaining Resurrección forms for extended periods. The original Naruto meditated, delving deeper into the connection between his current existence and his memories as Ulquiorra. During this training, Naruto made a discovery. He could channel the Nine-Tails chakra through his Arrancar abilities, creating hybrid techniques of tremendous power. A Cero enhanced with Nine-Tails chakra turned from green to crimson and increased exponentially in destructive capability. "Interesting," Naruto murmured as he observed the devastation from such a combined attack. "The fox's energy resonates with my hollow nature." Within his mindscape, Naruto confronted the Nine-Tails directly. "You are not so different from a hollow," Naruto observed, standing before the massive cage. A being of concentrated spiritual and chakra energy, driven by negative emotions. The Nine-Tails growled. "And you are not so different from that accursed Madara, with those cold eyes that see everything yet understand nothing." "I understand more than you realize," Naruto replied. "I have experienced true emptiness and found it lacking. I died questioning the nature of the heart and was reborn to discover its meaning." The Nine-Tails studied him curiously. "You are not the weak, loud child you once were." "No, I am something between Naruto Uzumaki and Ulquiorra Cifer, and I require your power not as a crutch, but as a complement to my own." Their negotiations were interrupted by an unexpected spiritual presence in the real world. Naruto's eyes snapped open to find a black butterfly floating before him, a hell butterfly, messenger of Soul Society. The butterfly dissolved, and in its place stood a Shinigami, a soul reaper in traditional black robes, carrying a Zanpakuto. "Arrancar," the Shinigami said, hand on his sword hilt. "Your spiritual pressure has been detected across dimensional boundaries. Explain your presence in this realm." Naruto stood calmly. "I am Ulquiorra Cifer, reincarnated in this world as Naruto Uzumaki. I died in Las Noches and awoke with my memories and powers intact in this child's body." The Shinigami frowned. "Impossible. Hollows don't reincarnate. They are purified and enter the cycle of rebirth without memories." "And yet here I stand." Naruto released a controlled burst of spiritual pressure as proof. "I maintain full awareness of my previous existence while developing in this new one. This requires investigation." The Shinigami studied him carefully. "I am Hideki Yamamoto, 10th seat of the 13th Division. I've been sent to investigate spiritual anomalies in this dimension." "The boundaries are weakening," Naruto confirmed. "Hollows have begun appearing in this world." Hideki nodded grimly. "Not just here. Multiple dimensions are experiencing bleed-through. Soul Society suspects someone is deliberately weakening the barriers for unknown purposes." This information concerned Naruto. If the boundaries between worlds collapsed completely, the ninja world would face threats it had no preparation for. Hollows, Arrancars, perhaps even Quinchis or worse. "This world has no Shinigami," Naruto observed. "No Quincy, no defense against spiritual entities. Which is why your presence here is both concerning and potentially valuable," Hideki replied. "You may be this world's only defense against what's coming." Their conversation was interrupted by a massive spiritual pressure that both immediately recognized, another garganta opening, but much larger than before. This time, a Jillian emerged, a massive, building-sized hollow with a elongated head and flowing black robes. A Minos Grande, Naruto stated. Here in Konoha, the enormous hollow towered over the village's walls, visible only to those with spiritual awareness. Most ninjas sensed something wrong but couldn't see the actual threat. Civilians walked unknowingly beneath the monster. "I'll handle this," Hideki said, drawing his Zanpakuto. "No," Naruto replied. "This is my world to protect now." He used Sonido to appear directly before the Minos Grande. The massive hollow opened its mouth, charging a Cero of its own. Naruto entered Primera Etapa instantly, his transformation washing spiritual pressure across the village. Ninja with higher spiritual sensitivity, like the Hyuga clan, could now partially see the outline of both Naruto and the threat he faced. "Cero Oscuras," Naruto intoned. The black Cero collided with the Minos Grande's red one, overwhelming it completely. The beam continued through, splitting the massive hollow's mask. It dissolved with a haunting wail that only those with spiritual awareness could hear. Naruto descended to find Hideki staring at him in shock. "That was Cero Oscuras, an Espada-level technique," the Shinigami said. "You truly are Ulquiorra Cifer." "I told you as much," Naruto replied, reverting to his human appearance. The commotion had drawn attention. Anbu surrounded them, though they had seen only Naruto transforming and firing at seemingly nothing. "Uzumaki," one Anbu captain said, "explain yourself." "A spiritual entity threatened the village," Naruto stated. "I eliminated it." Tsunade arrived, having felt the disturbance. "Who is this?" she asked, indicating Hideki, whom she could see due to her own considerable chakra reserves. "A Shinigami from Soul Society," Naruto explained, "here to investigate the weakening boundaries between dimensions." Hideki bowed respectfully. "Hideki Yamamoto, 10th Seat, 13th Division. I apologize for entering your realm without permission, but circumstances are urgent." Tsunade, to her credit, accepted the extraordinary situation with remarkable composure. "I think we need a full briefing on what exactly is happening." In the Hokage's office, Naruto and Hideki explained the structure of spiritual realms, Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, Hell, and the human world, and how the ninja world existed as a separate dimension with its own rules and energies. "Chakra as you know it doesn't exist in my world," Hideki explained. "We have Rishi, spiritual particles, and different manifestations of spiritual pressure. What makes this situation unprecedented is that your world has developed a hybrid energy system. Someone appears to be deliberately weakening the boundaries," Naruto added, "allowing cross-dimensional travel that should be impossible or highly restricted." Tsunade processed this information with the pragmatism of a battlefield medic. "So we're facing invisible monsters that eat souls, and only Naruto can effectively combat them?" "Not necessarily," Hideki replied. "Those with sufficient spiritual awareness can be trained to see and fight hollows. From what I've observed, your chakra provides a foundation for spiritual awareness." This led to the formation of Konoha's first spiritual defense unit, a small team of jonin with the highest spiritual sensitivity, trained by Naruto and Hideki to perceive and combat hollow threats. Neji Hyuga, whose Byakugan could partially perceive spiritual entities, became a key member. Kakashi Hake, whose Sharingan offered similar capabilities, joined as well. Hinata Hyuga, despite her gentle nature, demonstrated remarkable aptitude for sensing spiritual disturbances. Their training began immediately, with Naruto creating weak Cero-like manifestations for them to detect and dodge. "Spiritual pressure differs from chakra," Naruto explained. "It doesn't flow through established pathways, but emanates from the soul itself. Your chakra control provides a starting point, but you must develop new sensitivities." Hideki demonstrated basic Shinigami techniques, how to channel spiritual energy through physical objects to harm hollows, how to perform Konso soul burial on lingering spirits before they transformed into hollows. During this training period, Naruto continued developing his own abilities. He discovered that by channeling chakra into his Cero, he could create variations with different properties. A freezing Cero that immobilized targets, an explosive Cero that detonated on impact rather than piercing through. His relationship with the Ninetales also evolved. The fox, intrigued by Naruto's hollow nature, became more cooperative. Your emptiness resonates with my hatred, the Ninetales observed during one internal conversation. Yet you seek to fill that void rather than embrace it. Emptiness alone leads nowhere, Naruto replied. I learned this in my death as Ulquiorra. There must be purpose beyond mere existence. The Ninetales laughed. Purpose? What purpose does a tailed beast or a hollow serve except destruction? That is for each entity to determine, Naruto stated. I have chosen to protect this world that has become mine. This philosophical exchange marked the beginning of an unusual partnership. The Ninetales offered its chakra more freely, curious to see how this hollow human hybrid would develop. Weeks passed with increasing hollow incursions. The spiritual defense unit handled minor threats, while Naruto tackled the more powerful ones. Hideki communicated regularly with Soul Society through Hell Butterflies, reporting on the situation. Then came the night when everything escalated. Multiple Garganta opened simultaneously across Fire Country. Dozens of hollows poured through, along with several Ajukas-class Menos. Naruto and the defense unit mobilized immediately, splitting to cover different areas. Naruto faced the strongest concentration, 3 Ajukas attacking a civilian settlement. He entered Primera Etapa instantly, intercepting their assault. This world is under my protection, he declared. The lead Ajukas, a quadrupedal beast with a skull-like mask, laughed. Protection? From you, traitor? The reincarnated Espada who abandoned his kind? I abandoned nothing, Naruto replied. I died and was reborn. My allegiance is to existence itself, not to hollow or human alone. Then die with the humans you cherish. The Ajukas fired a Grand Ray Cero, a technique that should have been beyond its capabilities. Naruto countered with his own Cero Oscuras, the beams colliding with catastrophic force. The shockwave flattened nearby structures, though Naruto had ensured civilians were evacuated. Your power exceeds normal Ajukas levels, Naruto observed. You've been enhanced somehow. The master provides strength to those who serve his purpose, the Hollow replied. The boundaries will fall. All worlds will become one. The battle intensified. Naruto used Sonido to outmaneuver his opponents, but they demonstrated unusual coordination and strategy. When one attacked, the others moved to exploitable angles. They anticipated his movements with uncanny accuracy. Pushed to his limits, Naruto activated Segunda Etapa. His transformation brought momentary silence as the Ajukas beheld his ultimate form. Impossible, one whispered. Only Ulquiorra Cifer achieved a second release. I am Ulquiorra Cifer, Naruto replied, his voice distorted by his transformation. And this is Murcielago's true form. With devastating speed, he formed a Lanza del Relámpago and hurled it. The javelin of spiritual energy detonated with nuclear force, obliterating one Ajukas completely. The others retreated, but Naruto pursued with implacable determination. In this form, his power was overwhelming. The remaining Ajukas fell quickly, though one managed to reopen a Garganta and escape. Naruto considered following it into Hueco Mundo, but decided against leaving his world undefended. When he returned to Konoha, he found the defense unit had successfully repelled the lesser hollows, though not without casualties. 2 Jonin had been severely injured by attacks they couldn't fully perceive despite their training. Hideki arrived with grim news. Soul Society has identified the source of the boundary weakening. Someone is using an artifact called the Oken Resonator, a device that can temporarily synchronize different dimensional frequencies. To what end? Naruto asked. Unknown. But the pattern suggests they're testing the barriers, looking for vulnerabilities. That night, Naruto stood alone on the Hokage monument, contemplating the stars. He sensed Hinata's approach before she spoke. Naruto-kun, she said softly, I saw your true form today. He turned, studying her with those analytically detached eyes. And did it frighten you? No, she replied honestly. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like seeing the truth of existence itself. Her response surprised him. In his memories as Ulquiorra, he recalled the woman named Orihime reacting with fear to his Segunda Etapa. Yet Hinata saw beauty in that same form. You perceive differently than most, Naruto observed. My Byakugan lets me see many things, she explained. But seeing your spiritual form, it wasn't just visual. I felt it, the emptiness seeking purpose. For the first time in this reincarnation, Naruto felt a genuine connection to another being. not through tactical advantage or pragmatic alliance, but through understanding. The emptiness is not what it once was, he admitted. It fills slowly with experiences I never had as Ulquiorra. Friendship, loyalty, perhaps other emotions as well. Hinata smiled gently. That's what makes you Naruto. Even with Ulquiorra's memories and powers, you're becoming someone new. The moment was interrupted by a massive spiritual pressure, different from a hollow's, more refined and controlled. A Senkaimon, a gateway from Soul Society, opened in the sky above Konoha. Through it stepped not just Hideki, but a white-haired captain wearing a haori with the kanji for 10. Captain Hitsugaya, Hideki said, bowing deeply. The young-looking captain's eyes fixed immediately on Naruto. So it's true, Ulquiorra Cifer, reincarnated with his powers intact. Naruto inclined his head slightly. Captain, your presence here suggests Soul Society considers the situation grave. The situation is unprecedented, Hitsugaya replied. Barriers between dimensions don't weaken naturally. Someone with considerable power is orchestrating this. What does Soul Society intend to do? Naruto asked. Observe, investigate, and if necessary, intervene. Hitsugaya studied Naruto carefully. Your existence complicates matters. An Espada reborn in a world with its own power system creates variables we cannot easily predict. I am no threat to Soul Society, Naruto stated. My concern is protecting this world that has become mine. The captain's eyes narrowed. The Ulquiorra I heard about was loyal only to Aizen. I died questioning everything I believed, Naruto replied, and was reborn with the chance to find answers. My loyalty is to understanding now, understanding the heart I once denied existed. This philosophical answer seemed to satisfy Hitsugaya temporarily. The captain established a base of operations with Tsunade's permission, bringing in additional Shinigami to monitor dimensional fluctuations across the continent. Over the following days, Naruto worked closely with the Shinigami, sharing his knowledge of both worlds. The spiritual defense unit expanded, incorporating techniques from both traditions, ninja arts infused with the spiritual principles of Shinigami combat. Then came the breakthrough. During meditation, Naruto sensed a familiar spiritual pressure, one he recognized from his memories as Ulquiorra. Grimmjow, he murmured, opening his eyes. Miles away, at the edge of Fire Country, a garganta had opened. Through it stepped a blue-haired Arrancar with the remnants of a jaw-like mask on his right cheek. The Sexta Espada had somehow crossed dimensions. Naruto used Sonido to reach the location within minutes. He found Grimmjow standing calmly, hands in pockets, surveying the forest around him. So this is where you've been hiding, Ulquiorra, Grimmjow said with his characteristic grin. Nice place, bit too green for my taste. Grimmjow Jaeger Jaques, Naruto replied. How are you here? I died in Las Noches. Yeah, well, death's complicated for our kind. Grimmjow stretched casually. After Aizen's defeat, Hueco Mundo went through some changes. Some of us survived, some didn't. Then the barrier started acting up and suddenly traveling between worlds got a whole lot easier. You haven't answered my question, Naruto pressed. How did you find me specifically? Grimmjow's grin widened. Your spiritual pressure is distinctive, even in that kid's body. When the first reports came in about an Espada-level entity in this dimension, I had to see for myself. His expression turned serious, especially since it might relate to what's happening across all the worlds. The weakening barriers, Naruto stated. Yeah, someone's messing with fundamental forces. Even hell's boundaries are thinning. Grimmjow cracked his knuckles. But enough talk. I came to finish our fight. You died before I could beat you properly. Our conflict is meaningless now, Naruto replied. We face a greater threat. Don't care. Grimmjow's spiritual pressure flared. I've waited too long for this rematch. Show me your segunda etapa, Ulquiorra. Let's see if you're still stronger than me. Before Naruto could respond, Captain Hitsugaya appeared with Sonido-like speed. Espada, the captain said coldly, hand on his Zanpakuto. Your presence here is unauthorized. Grimmjow laughed. Since when do hollows need authorization from Shinigami? This doesn't concern you, Captain. This is between me and Ulquiorra. It concerns all worlds now, Hitsugaya replied. The dimensional barriers. Yeah, they're weakening, I know. Grimmjow turned back to Naruto. That's why I'm here. Fighting Ulquiorra is just a bonus. Naruto studied his former fellow Espada. You have information. Maybe, Grimmjow grinned again. Beat me and find out. What followed was a battle that reshaped the landscape. Naruto entered Primera Etapa, while Grimmjow released his Resurrección, Pantera. Their spiritual pressures collided like tsunamis, visible even to those without spiritual awareness as distortions in the air. Hitsugaya withdrew to establish a barrier, preventing collateral damage to the surrounding region. Within this contained space, the two Espada fought with everything they had. Grimmjow had grown stronger since their last encounter in Las Noches. His speed matched Naruto's Sonido, and his Desgarron, massive energy claws, carved through the earth with devastating force. Naruto countered with precision Ceros and lightning-fast movements. He incorporated ninja techniques into his fighting style, using shadow clones to distract before launching his real attacks, applying chakra control to enhance his spiritual techniques. "You've changed," Grimmjow observed during a momentary pause. "You're fighting differently, more adaptable." "I have evolved beyond what I was," Naruto replied. "This reincarnation has taught me much." "Well, let's see if it's enough." Grimmjow launched himself forward again. The battle escalated until Naruto was forced to enter Segunda Etapa. The transformation shocked Grimmjow, who had never witnessed it before. "So this is your second release," he murmured, genuinely impressed. "No wonder you were Aizen's favorite." In this form, Naruto overwhelmed Grimmjow completely. The Sexta Espada fought valiantly but could not match the sheer power difference. Finally, Grimmjow fell to one knee, his Resurrección fading. "Finish it," he growled. "No," Naruto replied, reverting to his human form. "Now tell me what you know about the weakening barriers." Grimmjow laughed through his pain. "Always so damn analytical." He stood shakily. "Fine. There's a group calling themselves the Dimensional Architects. They believe the separation between worlds is unnatural, that all realms should exist as one unified dimension." "Madness," Hitsugaya commented, approaching now that the battle had ended. "The barriers exist for good reason. Merging spiritual and physical realms would cause catastrophic imbalance." "Tell them that," Grimmjow shrugged. "They've been gathering fragments of the Oken, the key that connects dimensions, and using them to weaken specific points in the barriers." "Who leads them?" Naruto asked. Grimmjow's expression darkened. "That's the interesting part. Word in Hueco Mundo is that it's someone who's existed across multiple dimensions already, someone who understands the fundamental principles of reality itself." This cryptic answer provided more questions than solutions. But one thing was clear. The threat transcended individual worlds and required unprecedented cooperation. Naruto extended his hand to Grimmjow. "Join us! Your strength would be valuable against this enemy." Grimmjow stared at the offered hand in surprise. "You're asking me to help you? The emotionless Ulquiorra wants my assistance? I am not merely Ulquiorra anymore," Naruto replied. "And pragmatism dictates that allies are necessary against existential threats." After a moment's hesitation, Grimmjow clasped the offered hand. "Fine, but when this is over, we finish our fight properly." Agreed. With Grimmjow's reluctant alliance, the spiritual defense unit gained a powerful new asset, someone who could train them in combating Arrancar-level threats. The blue-haired Espada's teaching methods were harsh but effective, pushing the ninja beyond their limits. "Your chakra isn't that different from spiritual pressure," Grimmjow explained during one training session. "You just need to learn how to extend it beyond your body to make it sharp enough to cut through a hollow's Hierro." Under this intensive training, the defense unit made rapid progress. Neji developed a variation of the gentle fist that could damage spiritual entities. Kakashi created lightning techniques that could be channeled through his sword to mimic a Zanpakuto's effect. Naruto continued his own development, working to merge his two natures more completely. He discovered that by entering his mindscape and engaging directly with the Nine Tails, he could access a hybrid form, neither fully Arrancar nor fully Jinchuriki, but something unique. "Your hollow nature resonates with my chakra," the Nine Tails observed, "perhaps because we both exist in the space between life and death. This resonance manifested as a new transformation, Naruto's Segunda Etapa overlaid with the Nine Tails chakra cloak. The combination generated unprecedented power, though maintaining it strained even his considerable reserves. As the defense forces prepared, the enemy made their first direct move. A massive garganta opened above Konoha, larger than any before. From it emerged not hollows, but humans with spiritual powers, the dimensional architects that Grimjo had mentioned. Their leader stepped forward, a tall figure in flowing white robes with arcane symbols. His face remained hidden behind a mask that seemed to shift between different appearances. People of this world, his voice echoed across the village. We bring not destruction but transcendence. The artificial boundaries between dimensions must fall. All existence shall be unified once more, as it was in the beginning. Naruto, Grimjo, and Hitsugaya confronted these intruders directly, rising to meet them in the air above Konoha. Your actions threaten the fundamental balance, Hitsugaya stated. Soul Society cannot allow this. Balance? The masked leader laughed. What you call balance is merely enforced segregation. Souls, spirits, hollows, and humans, all fragments of what should be whole. Naruto studied the leader carefully. You speak of unification, yet your methods bring only chaos and suffering. Birth is always painful, the leader replied, but what emerges will transcend all current limitations. He turned his shifting mask toward Naruto. You of all beings should understand. Ulquiorra Cifer reborn as Naruto Uzumaki, a hollow reincarnated with memories intact, merging with a human vessel that contains a tailed beast. You are living proof that boundaries are meant to be crossed. This perspective gave Naruto pause. There was a certain logic to it. His own existence demonstrated that dimensional boundaries were not absolute. The balance exists for a reason, he finally replied. Uncontrolled merging would destroy more than it would create. Enough talk, Grimjo snarled, drawing his Zanpakuto. Let's just kill them and be done with it. The battle that followed was unlike anything the ninja world had witnessed. Spiritual techniques clashed with dimensional manipulation abilities. The architects wielded fragments of the Oken as weapons, opening small garganta mid-battle to redirect attacks or position themselves advantageously. Naruto fought the leader directly, combining Sonido with shadow clones to attack from multiple angles simultaneously. The masked figure countered with techniques that seemed to draw from multiple dimensional sources, Kido-like spells, Quincy-like energy manipulation, and abilities reminiscent of Fullbring. You see, the leader called as they fought, I have already begun the unification within myself. I have accessed the power of all realms. Pushed to his limits, Naruto entered his hybrid form, Segunda Etapa enhanced with the 9 tails of chakra. The transformation generated a pressure wave that temporarily halted the battle as all combatants felt its magnitude. Fascinating, the leader whispered. You've achieved a harmony I didn't think possible yet. In this form, Naruto moved with impossible speed, his attacks carrying the destructive force of both hollow and tailed beast energies. The leader was forced to retreat, opening a massive garganta. This is merely the beginning, he called as he withdrew with his followers. Consider what you've witnessed today a demonstration. The boundaries will continue to weaken. The unification cannot be stopped. As the garganta closed, silence fell over Konoha. The defenders had prevailed for now, but the threat remained and would likely grow stronger. In the aftermath, Naruto stood with Grimjo, Hitsugaya, and the spiritual defense unit, contemplating their next moves. We need to be proactive, Naruto stated. Defending reactively against dimensional incursions is insufficient. Agreed, Hitsugaya said. Soul Society is mobilizing more resources, but the scope of this threat requires unprecedented measures. Grimjo crossed his arms. So what's the plan? Hunt down these architects across dimensions? Yes, Naruto replied simply. We must locate the remaining Oken fragments before they do, and secure the weakest points in the dimensional barriers. Tsunade authorized the formation of an elite cross-dimensional task force, with Naruto as its leader. The team would include members of the Spiritual Defense Unit, Shinigami assigned by Soul Society, and Grimjo as their Huecomundo expert. As preparations continued, Naruto found himself contemplating the nature of his existence more deeply than ever. The masked leader's words had struck a chord. He was indeed a living example of dimensional boundaries being crossed. Perhaps there is truth in what he says, Naruto mused to Hinata during a rare, quiet moment. Perhaps the separation between worlds is artificial. Maybe, she replied thoughtfully. But nature has boundaries for a reason. Rivers need banks to flow properly. Without structure, there is only chaos. Her simple wisdom resonated with him. You speak truth. Even in Las Noches, structure was necessary. Aizen understood this, though his goals were flawed. What do you think the architects really want? Hinata asked. Is unification truly their only goal? Naruto considered this. No. Power frequently disguises itself as ideology. They seek control over a unified reality, not merely unification itself. As the hollow moon rose over Konoha, Naruto Uzumaki, the reincarnation of Ulquiorra Cifer, prepared for the greatest challenge of either existence. The path of the Hollow Ninja had led him to become a guardian of reality itself, protecting not just his village or world, but the very structure of existence. The boundaries between worlds continued to thin, and beyond them waited enemies and allies yet unknown. But Naruto would face them with the analytical precision of Ulquiorra and the determined heart of Uzumaki, a combination that transcended the limitations of either alone. The Soul Society invasion. The Dimensional Task Force assembled on a misty morning near the borders of Fire Country. Naruto stood at its center, surrounded by an unprecedented alliance, Neji and Hinata Hyuga, whose Byakugan could perceive spiritual disturbances, Kakashi Hatake, whose Sharingan offered tactical advantages against dimensional techniques, Captain Hitsugaya and 3 other Shinigami officers, and Grimjo Jaeger Jacques, still wearing his characteristic scowl. Our mission is clear, Naruto stated, his voice carrying the calm authority that had become his hallmark. We must locate and secure the weakest dimensional boundaries, prevent further incursions, and gather intelligence on the architect's ultimate goal. Hitsugaya unrolled a map marked with spiritual readings. Soul Society has identified 3 major boundary weaknesses within Fire Country. The most concerning is here. He pointed to a location deep in the mountains, where the barrier has thinned to dangerous levels. That's our first target, Naruto decided. We'll establish a baseline understanding of how these weaknesses manifest physically. As they prepared to depart, Tsunade approached with a final warning. Remember, this mission exists outside normal shinobi parameters. You're authorized to act independently as needed, but protect our world at all costs. Naruto inclined his head slightly. We will not fail, Hokage-sama. The journey to the first weak point took them through increasingly disturbed terrain. Wildlife behaved erratically, birds flying in impossible patterns, deer standing motionless for hours. Vegetation showed signs of accelerated growth or decay, often within inches of normal plants. The laws of nature become flexible near boundary weaknesses, Hitsugaya explained, physical and spiritual realms bleeding into each other. As they approached the epicenter, the Hyuga siblings activated their Byakugan simultaneously. I see it, Hinata whispered. The barrier looks like rippling glass, but with colors I've never seen before. Neji nodded. And something is moving on the other side, watching us. Naruto could sense it too. Spiritual pressures unlike any he'd encountered before. Neither hollow nor Shinigami, but something different entirely. Stay alert, he commanded. We're being observed. They established a perimeter around the weakened boundary, setting up monitoring equipment provided by Soul Society. These devices, combinations of technology and Kido spells, would alert them to any attempted crossings. While the others worked, Naruto approached the barrier directly. To his enhanced perception, it appeared as a shimmering curtain of reality, occasionally parting enough to glimpse another world beyond, not Hueco Mundo or Soul Society, but somewhere else entirely. Interesting, Grimgel remarked, joining him. That doesn't look like any dimension I know. Because it isn't, came a new voice. They turned to find a figure emerging from the forest, a woman with long white hair and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. She wore simple traveling clothes, but her spiritual pressure radiated ancient power. Who are you? Hitsugaya demanded, hand on his Zanpakuto. A concerned observer, she replied. You may call me Kana. I've been monitoring the dimensional disturbances for some time. Naruto studied her with analytical intensity. You're neither Shinigami nor Hollow. What exactly are you? A guardian of boundaries, Kana said simply. My kind has existed since the dimensions were first separated. We maintain the natural order between worlds. This revelation added a new dimension to their understanding. If there were beings specifically tasked with maintaining boundaries, the current weakening was even more significant than they'd realized. Why have you revealed yourself to us now? Naruto asked. Because the situation has grown beyond my individual ability to contain, Kana admitted. The architects have discovered ancient methods of boundary manipulation that bypass our traditional defenses. She approached the shimmering barrier and placed her hand against it. The distortion stabilized momentarily. What you're seeing beyond isn't Hueco Mundo or Soul Society, she explained. It's what we call a nexus realm, a dimensional pocket that connects multiple worlds simultaneously. The architects are using these nexus points as staging areas for their operations. This information changed their tactical approach completely. Rather than simply reinforcing boundaries, they would need to access these nexus realms and confront the architects directly. Can you open a path for us? Naruto asked. Kana nodded. I can, but be warned. Nexus realms operate under different physical laws. Your abilities may manifest differently there, and time flows unpredictably. We'll adapt, Naruto stated. The threat must be confronted at its source. After consulting with Hitsugaya and the rest of the team, they decided on a focused approach. Naruto, Grimmjow, Hitsugaya, and Hinata would enter the Nexus realm on a reconnaissance mission, while the others maintained security at the boundary point. Kana performed an elaborate ritual, her hands weaving complex patterns as she chanted in an unknown language. The barrier rippled more intensely, then parted like a curtain. I can maintain this opening for 12 hours, she explained. After that, you'll need to find another way back, or wait for me to reestablish contact. Naruto turned to the team remaining behind. If we don't return within the time limit, seal this boundary completely and return to Konoha. The village's safety takes priority. With those final instructions, Naruto led his small group through the dimensional opening. The transition felt like stepping through a waterfall of liquid light. Colors swirled around them, reality bending and flexing before resolving into a new environment. The Nexus realm defied easy description. The sky shifted between various hues and patterns, sometimes showing multiple celestial bodies simultaneously. The landscape featured elements from different dimensions. Trees like those in Fire Country grew alongside crystalline formations reminiscent of Hueco Mundo. Buildings of Soul Society design stood partially merged with structures of unknown origin. This place, Hinata whispered, her Byakugan active. It's like seeing every world at once. Stay focused, Naruto cautioned. This realm may affect perception and judgment. They moved cautiously through this composite reality, encountering strange hybrid creatures, birds with hollow-like masks, deer with spiritual pressure visible as auras. None seemed aggressive, merely curious about the intruders. After what felt like hours, but might have been minutes, time flowed strangely here. They discovered signs of intelligent habitation. A settlement constructed from materials of various dimensions housed beings that appeared to be mixtures of different species. Boundary refugees, Hitsugaya explained quietly. Beings caught between dimensions during previous disturbances. They've adapted to existence in the Nexus. As they approached the settlement, sentries noticed them. Rather than showing hostility, the inhabitants seemed cautiously welcoming, sending a representative to meet them. A humanoid figure whose features subtly shifted between different appearances. Travelers, the being greeted them in a voice that echoed slightly. You come from the Shinobi world, yet carry the energies of other realms. Fascinating. We seek information about the dimensional architects, Naruto stated directly. They threaten the stability of all worlds. The being's expression grew somber. The unifiers, as they call themselves here. Yes, they have established a presence in this nexus. Their base lies beyond the shifting mountains. The representative pointed toward a range of peaks that seemed to relocate slightly whenever not directly observed. What do you know of their plans? Hitsugaya asked. They speak of a great convergence, a moment when all dimensions will synchronize briefly. During this window, they intend to permanently remove the barriers using concentrated Oken energy. This revelation alarmed even the typically stoic Naruto. A simultaneous convergence of all dimensions would create catastrophic reality distortions. When will this convergence occur? He asked. The celestial alignment approaches, the representative replied. In your world's time, perhaps 3 days hence. Their timeline had suddenly become much more urgent. 3 days to locate the architect's base, understand their methods, and prevent dimensional collapse. We need to move now, Naruto decided. "Can you guide us to these shifting mountains?" The representative agreed, providing them with a local guide, a young woman named Era, whose body seemed partially transparent, spiritual energy visible flowing through her like luminescent rivers. As they journeyed deeper into the Nexus realm, Naruto observed how his own abilities adapted to this environment. His spiritual pressure manifested more visibly here, surrounding him with a faint green aura. Sonido became even faster, but less precise, sometimes carrying him slightly farther than intended. His Cero took on new properties, splitting into multiple smaller beams that reconverged on impact. Hinata's Byakugan functioned beyond its normal parameters, allowing her to perceive not just chakra networks, but the very fabric of dimensional boundaries. This enhanced perception proved invaluable as they navigated the ever-changing landscape. "The mountains are particularly dangerous," Era warned as they approached the shifting range. "Reality is thinnest there, sometimes disappearing altogether. Stay close and focus on what you know to be true." The ascent through the shifting mountains tested them severely. Pathways appeared and disappeared without warning. Gravity fluctuated unpredictably, sometimes increasing to crushing levels, other times diminishing until they had to anchor themselves to avoid floating away. During one particularly difficult passage, Hinata stumbled as the ground beneath her vanished. Naruto moved instinctively, using Sonido to catch her before she fell into a void between realities. "Thank you," she whispered as he set her down safely. Naruto felt an unfamiliar sensation, concern that went beyond tactical considerations. "Your safety is important," he replied, the emotional undertone surprising him. Grimmjow snorted. "Getting soft, Ulquiorra. The you I remember wouldn't have bothered saving anyone who couldn't save themselves." "I am not merely Ulquiorra anymore," Naruto stated, his eyes meeting Hinata's briefly. "Evolution requires adaptation to new variables." They continued their ascent, eventually reaching a plateau where reality seemed more stable. From this vantage point, they could see a massive structure in the distance, a fortress that incorporated architectural elements from multiple dimensions. Soul Society's clean lines blended with Huecomundo's stark minimalism and the organic curves of the Shinobi world. "The architect's stronghold," Era confirmed. "They call it Convergence Point." Hitsugaya used a specialized device to scan the fortress. "Significant energy readings. They've already begun the synchronization process." "Then we have less time than we thought," Naruto concluded. "We need to infiltrate immediately." They formulated a plan, leveraging their diverse abilities. Hinata would use her enhanced Byakugan to map the interior. Grimmjow and Hitsugaya would create a diversion at the main entrance. Naruto would infiltrate through a secondary access point Hinata identified, targeting the central power source. As night fell, or what passed for night in this realm, where the sky darkened to a purple-black dotted with multidimensional constellations, they moved into position. The operation began smoothly. Grimmjow released his Resurrección, Pantera, while Hitsugaya activated his Bankai, Daiguren Hyorinmaru. Their combined assault on the main gate drew defenders away from the secondary entrances. Naruto, using Sonido enhanced by the Nexus Realm's fluid reality, infiltrated through a maintenance conduit Hinata had spotted. Inside, he encountered guard patrols consisting of hybrid beings, humans with partial hollow masks, a Rancor with Shinigami abilities, and entities he couldn't classify at all. Moving with practiced stealth, Naruto avoided confrontation where possible. His objective was the central chamber, where Hinata had detected an enormous concentration of energy. When combat became unavoidable, he relied on precise Ceros and Hierro-enhanced taijutsu rather than his more destructive abilities. Maintaining the element of surprise was paramount. As he approached the central chamber, Naruto encountered increasingly sophisticated security measures, barriers that detected spiritual pressure, traps that manipulated local reality, guards with transcendent abilities. Finally, reaching the massive doors to the central chamber, Naruto paused to assess the situation. Beyond these doors lay the heart of the architect's plan. According to the intelligence they'd gathered, the convergence process had already begun, but could still be halted if the central mechanism was disabled. He placed his hand against the door, sensing the energies beyond. Multiple powerful entities were present, including one whose spiritual pressure felt disturbingly familiar. Without further hesitation, Naruto channeled chakra and spiritual energy simultaneously, creating a focused Cero variant that cut through the door's locking mechanism. The massive doors swung open, revealing the chamber beyond. The sight momentarily halted even Naruto's analytical mind. A vast circular room housed a complex apparatus at its center, a spinning arrangement of oaken fragments orbiting around a core of blindingly bright energy. Dimensional windows floated throughout the space, each showing a different world. Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, the Shinobi world, and dozens of others Naruto didn't recognize. Attending this apparatus were several figures in the white robes of the architects, and at the center stood their leader, the masked figure from Konoha. "Ah, Ulquiorra Cifer, or do you prefer Naruto Uzumaki now?" the leader called, turning toward the entrance. "I've been expecting you. Your companions are creating quite the distraction outside." Naruto stepped forward, assessing the situation tactically. "Your convergence will destroy more than it creates. It must be stopped." "Destruction and creation are merely perspectives," the leader replied. "What you call destruction, I call necessary transformation. The artificial boundaries between worlds cause more suffering than their removal ever could. You speak of suffering, yet your actions have brought only chaos," Naruto countered, moving slowly around the perimeter, analyzing the apparatus for weaknesses. The leader laughed, the sound echoing strangely through his shifting mask. "Initial chaos is inevitable in any fundamental change, but consider your own existence. A hollow reborn as a human, carrying the nine tails within you. You embody the very transcendence I seek to grant all beings." This argument again gave Naruto pause. His own existence did represent a successful merging of different dimensional aspects, but he had achieved this through natural reincarnation and gradual integration, not forced convergence. "Individual transcendence differs from imposed universal convergence," Naruto stated. "You offer no choice, only cataclysm." "Sometimes choice must be removed for progress to occur," the leader replied. "But enough philosophy. You've come to stop me, and I cannot allow that." With a gesture from the leader, the other architects moved to surround Naruto. Each radiated considerable power, drawing on multiple dimensional energies simultaneously. Naruto assessed his options. Direct confrontation with all opponents simultaneously would be tactically unsound. The apparatus was the primary objective. Disable it, and their plan fails regardless of other outcomes. He activated Primera Etapa, his transformation causing the dimensional windows around the chamber to fluctuate wildly. In this form, his spiritual pressure directly affected the Nexus Realm's unstable reality. "Interesting," the leader observed. "Your transformation resonates with the convergence energies. Perhaps you're more aligned with our goals than you realize." Naruto didn't respond verbally. Instead, he used Sonido to launch himself directly at the spinning apparatus. If he could disrupt the orbiting oaken fragments, the entire process might collapse. The architects moved to intercept, but Naruto's speed in Primera Etapa exceeded their expectations. He reached the apparatus and fired a precision Cero at one of the oaken fragments. The result was not what he anticipated. Rather than disrupting the convergence, his Cero was absorbed into the energy core, causing it to pulse more intensely. The dimensional windows expanded, images of different worlds growing more vivid. "You cannot stop the process through direct energy attacks," the leader explained, appearing beside Naruto with unexpected speed. "Your spiritual pressure merely accelerates the convergence." This revelation forced Naruto to reassess. If energy attacks strengthened the apparatus, physical disruption might be the only option. He formed a Lanza del Relampago, calculating the precise point where physical impact would cause maximum disruption with minimal energy transfer. Before he could launch the attack, the leader struck. Moving with impossible speed, he delivered a blow that penetrated even Naruto's Hierro, sending him crashing into the chamber wall. "You are powerful, Ulquiorra Naruto, but you face someone who has mastered aspects of all dimensions," the leader stated, approaching the downed Espada. "I have existed across multiple realities, gathering knowledge and power from each." Naruto rose, his regeneration already healing the damage. "Your identity," he said, studying the shifting mask. "Reveal it." The leader reached up and removed his mask, revealing a face that caused even Naruto's impassive expression to show shock. "Impossible," Naruto whispered. The face before him was his own, older, marked with ancient symbols, but unmistakably belonging to Naruto Uzumaki. "Not impossible," the leader replied. "Inevitable. I am you from a timeline where the dimensional barriers collapse naturally. I survived by merging with aspects of every reality simultaneously, and now I ensure that this convergence happens in a controlled manner rather than the catastrophic collapse I experienced." This revelation complicated everything. Naruto found himself facing not just an enemy, but a potential future version of himself, one who had experienced exactly what he feared and developed a radical solution. "If you are truly me," Naruto said, "then you know I cannot allow this to proceed. And you know that I cannot allow you to stop it," his future self replied. "The difference between us is that I have seen the end result. The suffering of uncontrolled collapse far exceeds the temporary chaos of managed convergence." Their philosophical impasse gave way to direct confrontation. Naruto attacked with everything Primera Etapa offered: Ceros, Sonido, physical strikes enhanced by both spiritual pressure and chakra. His future self countered with techniques drawn from multiple dimensional sources, including abilities Naruto had never seen before. The battle devastated the chamber, energy discharges, causing reality fluctuations throughout the Nexus realm. The other architects maintained the convergence apparatus, while their leader fought his younger self. As they clashed, something unexpected occurred. The nine tails within Naruto resonated with the convergence energies, its chakra leaking into his spiritual pressure. This resonance created a feedback loop with his future self, who appeared to possess a similar unified energy. "You feel it, don't you?" his future self called during a momentary separation. "The harmony of unified energies. This is what awaits all beings once the barriers fall." Naruto did feel it, a connection that transcended normal combat, a resonance between different aspects of the same existence. But he also sensed something his future self seemed to ignore: the fundamental instability of forced unification. "There is harmony," Naruto acknowledged, "but also discord. Forced convergence creates resistance. Natural integration requires time." "Time we no longer have," his future self replied grimly. "The natural collapse I witnessed destroyed countless lives across all dimensions. This controlled convergence is the only viable alternative." Their battle resumed with greater intensity. Naruto entered Segunda Etapa, his transformation causing such severe reality fluctuations that parts of the chamber began phasing in and out of existence. His future self responded with a transformation of his own, a hybrid form that incorporated aspects of Hollow, Shinigami, Jinchuriki, and other dimensional entities Naruto couldn't identify. In this state, his power exceeded even Segunda Etapa. "This is what awaits you," the future Naruto stated, his voice echoing with multiple tonal layers. "Transcendence beyond any single dimensional limitation." The battle reached its climax as both combatants channeled their ultimate techniques. Naruto formed a Lanza del Relampago infused with Nine-Tails chakra, while his future self gathered energy that seemed drawn from the convergence apparatus itself. Their attacks collided with cataclysmic force, creating a dimensional shockwave that rippled outward through the Nexus realm. The chamber's reality distorted severely, walls and ceiling phasing between solid matter and energy states. In this moment of maximum chaos, Hinata, Grimmjow, and Hitsugaya broke through into the chamber, having fought their way past the external defenses. "Naruto!" Hinata called, her Byakugan perceiving the true nature of the confrontation. "The apparatus is unstable. The convergence is accelerating beyond their control." This matched Naruto's own assessment. The collision of transcendent energies had disrupted the careful calibration of the convergence process. What had been intended as controlled unification was becoming exactly what his future self had feared: catastrophic collapse. "You see?" his future self cried, momentarily distracted by the new arrivals. "This is how it begins. Uncontrolled cascade failure across all dimensional boundaries." In this moment of distraction, Naruto made a decision that would alter the course of multiple realities. Rather than attacking his future self again, he used Sonido to reach the convergence apparatus. "What are you doing?" his future self demanded, moving to intercept. "Adaptation," Naruto replied simply. Instead of attempting to destroy the apparatus, Naruto placed both hands directly on the energy core. He channeled his combined nature, Arrancar, human, Jinchuriki, into the convergence mechanism. His unique existence, which had successfully integrated multiple dimensional aspects naturally, became a template for the process. No, his future self cried, recognizing the implications. The convergence must follow my design. But it was too late. Naruto had become the focal point of the entire process, his integrated existence providing a pattern for stable dimensional interaction rather than forced unification. The apparatus transformed under his influence. Rather than collapsing all barriers simultaneously, it began establishing controlled interfaces, points where dimensions could interact without merging completely. The spinning oaken fragments rearranged into a new configuration, creating a network rather than a convergence point. What have you done? His future self demanded, his hybrid form flickering as the energy pattern shifted. Created an alternative, Naruto replied, his voice strained from the immense energy flowing through him. Controlled interaction without forced unification, boundaries maintained but made permeable where beneficial. The dimensional windows throughout the chamber stabilized, showing not chaotic merging but orderly connection points between worlds. The catastrophic collapse had been averted, replaced by a network of stable dimensional interfaces. His future self stared in disbelief, his form becoming increasingly unstable. This wasn't possible in my timeline. The damage was too extensive. Your timeline lacked what I possess, Naruto stated. A natural integration achieved through reincarnation rather than artificial means. The template of successful dimensional harmony. As the new configuration stabilized, Naruto's future self began to fade. His existence depended on the complete convergence that would now never occur. Perhaps your way is better, he admitted as his form grew transparent. A gradual harmony rather than forced unity. Not better, Naruto replied. Different, adapted to current conditions rather than past trauma. Before disappearing completely, his future self offered one final warning. The threat isn't over. Others seek what I sought, for reasons less principled. The barriers will be tested again. With those words, he vanished, not destroyed, but returned to a potential future that might now never manifest. The remaining architects, seeing their leader gone and their plan transformed, surrendered or fled through rapidly closing dimensional portals. The fortress began to stabilize as the new network of controlled interfaces replaced the convergence mechanism. Hitsugaya approached Naruto, who had reverted to his human form, visibly exhausted from channeling such enormous energies. What exactly did you do? The captain asked. I provided a template for controlled interaction rather than complete merging, Naruto explained. The dimensions remain separate, but can now communicate through stable interfaces. Soul Society can monitor hollows more effectively. Shinigami can reach souls in need of Kanso more efficiently. And our world? Hinata asked, helping Naruto stand. Protected, but no longer isolated, he replied. Those with spiritual awareness can now be properly trained. Those without remain unaffected by spiritual phenomena. Grimmjow laughed, sheathing his Zanpakuto. Leave it to you to find the analytical middle ground, Ulquiorra, always the pragmatist. As they prepared to return to their entry point, Naruto paused to study the transformed apparatus one last time. What had been designed for convergence now maintained separation with controlled interaction. Much like his own existence as Naruto Ulquiorra, maintaining distinct aspects of both while functioning as an integrated whole. The journey back through the shifting mountains proved easier, the paths more stable now that the dimensional interfaces had been established. When they reached the boundary where they had entered, Kana awaited them, her expression showing both surprise and approval. You've done something unprecedented, she said to Naruto. Established a new paradigm for dimensional interaction. My kind has sought such a solution for eons. It was necessary adaptation. Naruto replied simply. Complete separation and total convergence both lead to imbalance. Controlled permeability offers stability. Kana nodded. The Guardian Council will want to meet with you. Your unique nature makes you valuable to maintaining this new arrangement. They passed through the boundary, returning to the Shinobi world, where the rest of their team waited anxiously. The transition felt smoother now, the boundary less like a barrier and more like a permeable membrane. Back in Konoha, Naruto provided a full report to Tsunade, explaining the transformed dimensional structure and its implications for their world. So we're now connected to these other dimensions, but not merged with them? She clarified. Correct, Naruto confirmed. Those with sufficient spiritual awareness can perceive and interact with spiritual entities. Those without remain unaffected. The village can establish protocols for handling hollow incursions, which will be less frequent but not eliminated entirely. And this future version of yourself? Tsunade asked. Is he truly gone? He represented a potential that no longer exists, Naruto explained. A timeline where dimensional collapse occurred catastrophically. By establishing controlled interfaces, that future has been averted. In the days that followed, Naruto worked with Soul Society representatives to establish training programs for spiritually aware shinobi. The Hyuga clan, with their natural spiritual sensitivity, became central to these efforts. Neji and Hinata led the development of techniques that combined gentle fist principles with spiritual combat methods. Grimmjow, surprisingly, chose to remain in the shinobi world temporarily. Hueco Mundo's boring now that Aizen's gone, he explained with his characteristic grin. And watching you balance your two natures is way more interesting. The blue-haired Espada became an unlikely instructor for advanced spiritual combat techniques, his aggressive teaching style pushing the new spiritual defense unit to greater heights. Captain Hitsugaya returned to Soul Society, but established a regular communication channel through the new dimensional interface. Soul Society formally recognized the shinobi world's independence while offering technical assistance for spiritual matters. Through all these developments, Naruto continued his own evolution. The confrontation with his future self had shown him both a warning and a possibility, the danger of forced unification and the potential of natural integration. One evening, as he stood atop the Hokage monument watching the sunset, Hinata joined him. "How does it feel?" she asked quietly. "Meeting a version of yourself like that?" "Instructive," Naruto replied after a moment's reflection. He was what I might become if I allowed fear to dictate my actions. He sought control through force rather than adaptation through understanding. "And which path will you choose?" Hinata's question carried deeper implications than its simple wording suggested. Naruto turned to her, his typically analytical eyes showing something new. A genuine emotional connection that Ulquiorra would have denied was possible. "The path of integration," he said. "Maintaining the strengths of both my natures while evolving into something neither could become alone." As the last light faded from the sky, Naruto Uzumaki, the reincarnation of Ulquiorra Cifer, stood at the intersection of multiple worlds, both literally and figuratively. The Soul Society incursion had been resolved, but his future self's warning echoed in his mind. Other threats would emerge. The new dimensional interfaces would attract those seeking power. The balanced path was never the easiest to walk. But for now, standing beside someone who saw and accepted both aspects of his nature, Naruto felt something Ulquiorra had questioned until his dying moment, the reality of the heart, not as a mere organ, but as the seat of connection between beings. "Tomorrow's training will be challenging," he stated, returning to his practical nature. "The spiritual defense unit requires more intensive hollow combat experience." Hinata smiled at this typical shift, always thinking ahead. "It is who I am," Naruto replied. Analytical preparation tempered by growing understanding of emotional connections. As they descended from the monument, Naruto sensed the nine tails stirring within him, curious about these emotional developments. The fox had observed the entire Soul Society confrontation with interest, particularly the interaction with Naruto's future self. "You grow more interesting, brat," the nine tails commented internally. "Neither fully the empty Espada, nor the emotional child you once were." "Evolution requires integration of seemingly opposing aspects," Naruto replied mentally. "Perhaps you will discover this yourself in time." The fox's laughter rumbled through his consciousness. "Perhaps this new arrangement of dimensions offers possibilities I hadn't considered." This cryptic statement would prove prophetic in ways neither could yet imagine. For as the dimensional interfaces stabilized across reality, ancient entities beyond even Soul Society's knowledge stirred, sensing opportunity in the new cosmic architecture. The invasion had been repelled, but a greater war approached, one that would test not just Naruto's power, but his very understanding of existence itself. The Espada War. 6 months after the dimensional interfaces were established, a new equilibrium had emerged. Konoha's spiritual defense unit successfully managed the occasional hollow incursions. Soul Society maintained a small permanent outpost in Fire Country, staffed by Shinigami trained in cross-dimensional protocols. Grimmjow had reluctantly become something of a fixture in the village, his abrasive personality balanced by his undeniable expertise in combat against spiritual threats. Naruto, now 16, had continued evolving both his abilities and his understanding of his dual nature. He had developed new techniques that combined the precision of Ulquiorra's approaches with the creativity of Uzumaki heritage. His Segunda Etapa transformation had refined to require less spiritual pressure, allowing more controlled application in battle. More surprisingly, his emotional development had progressed significantly. While still analytical and often detached, he had formed genuine connections with select individuals, particularly Hinata, whose gentle understanding of his complex nature provided a counterbalance to his tendency toward cold pragmatism. On this particular morning, Naruto stood in Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death, observing as Neji led a group of chonin through spiritual awareness exercises. The Hyuga prodigy had become an exceptional instructor, his own experiences with Naruto's powers giving him unique insight into training others. "Their progress is adequate," Naruto commented as Neji approached after dismissing the class. Neji smiled slightly at this typical understatement. "They're actually advancing faster than expected. Particularly Konohamaru, his spiritual sensitivity nearly matches a Hyuga's natural ability." Interesting. Perhaps a latent characteristic of the Sarutobi clan, Naruto theorized. "Schedule him for advanced hollow combat simulations next week." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a hell butterfly, the communication method established between Soul Society and Konoha. The black insect floated directly to Naruto, landing on his extended finger. The message it conveyed caused even his typically impassive expression to tighten. "Gather the defense unit and locate Grimmjow," he instructed Neji. "Priority 1 alert." Multiple Garganta openings detected across the continent. "Hollows again?" Neji asked, already activating his Byakugan to scan the village perimeter. "No," Naruto replied grimly. "Arrancar signatures, specifically Espada-level spiritual pressure." This development was unprecedented, since establishing the dimensional interfaces, only lesser hollows had occasionally crossed over. Arrancar, especially Espada-level ones, possessed both the intelligence and power to represent a far greater threat. Within an hour, Konoha's defenses were at maximum readiness. Tsunade called an emergency meeting with the defense unit leaders, Soul Society representatives, and Naruto's inner circle. "Explain exactly what we're facing," the Hokage demanded. Naruto stood at the center of the room, his posture perfect as always. "Espada are the 10 strongest Arrancar in Hueco Mundo, hollows who have removed their masks to gain Shinigami-like powers. I was the 4th Espada under Aizen's command, designated Quattro. If they're like you," Tsunade began. "Some are stronger, some weaker," Naruto clarified. "But all possess unique abilities that conventional shinobi techniques cannot counter effectively." Grimmjow, leaning against the wall with his usual scowl, added, "They each represent an aspect of death. Ulquiorra here was emptiness. I was destruction. The others have their own aspects: rage, aging, sacrifice, and so on. The dimensional sensors have detected at least 6 distinct Espada-level spiritual pressures entering our world through different access points," reported the Soul Society representative, a serious woman named Captain Sui Feng who had replaced Hitsugaya as their liaison. 6? Grimmjow straightened, genuinely alarmed. "That's more than half the original Espada strength. Even with the interfaces regulating spiritual pressure, that's enough power to devastate entire regions." "The question," Naruto stated, "is why they've chosen to cross dimensions now, and in such numbers." As if in answer to his question, a tremendous spiritual pressure suddenly blanketed the village. Even those with minimal spiritual awareness felt it as a crushing weight, making breathing difficult and movement sluggish. Naruto and Grimmjow recognized it immediately. "Stark," they said simultaneously. On the village outskirts, a Garganta opened. Through it stepped a relaxed-looking man with wavy brown hair and a partial hollow mask fragment on his left jawline. Beside him was a young girl with light green hair and a helmet-like mask fragment. Coyote Stark, the Primera Espada, and his other half Lilinet had arrived in Konoha. Naruto used Sonido to reach the village boundary instantly, Grimmjow close behind. They confronted the newcomers with cautious readiness. "Stark," Naruto acknowledged with a slight inclination of his head. "Your presence here is unexpected." The Primera Espada looked at Naruto with mild surprise. "Ulquiorra, so the rumors were true. You've been reincarnated in this world. Interesting." "Oh wow, you really are in a kid's body," Lilinet exclaimed, studying Naruto with open curiosity. "But your spiritual pressure is the same. Creepy." "Why have you come?" Naruto asked directly. "And why have 5 other Espada-level entities entered this dimension simultaneously?" Stark sighed, his perpetually tired expression growing more serious. "That's why I sought you out specifically, Ulquiorra. There's a new power in Hueco Mundo, someone calling themselves the Dimensional Sovereign. They've been recruiting Arrancar, promising greater power through something called dimensional resonance." "Dimensional resonance?" Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Elaborate." "A technique that allows an Arrancar to draw power from their alternate selves across different dimensions," Stark explained. "It increases their abilities exponentially, but seems to change them somehow. Make them more aggressive, more singularly focused. Like hollow regression," Grimmjow suggested, "but with more power and less control." Stark nodded. The enhanced Espada have been sent to establish beachheads in this world, to prepare it for what they're calling the Dimensional Harvest. This information aligned with the warning Naruto had received from his future self, that others would seek to exploit the new dimensional arrangement for their own purposes. "And you, Stark? Are you here as ally or enemy?" Naruto asked. The Primera Espada shrugged. "I never wanted conflict. The Sovereign's approach seems likely to create more enemies, more fighting, more trouble. I came to warn you and see if there's a quieter alternative." "Typical lazy Stark," Lilinet complained, kicking him in the shin. "He just wants to find somewhere peaceful to nap." Despite the gravity of the situation, this interaction confirmed something important to Naruto. Stark retained his core personality, suggesting he hadn't undergone this dimensional resonance process. "The other Espada who have crossed over?" Naruto asked. "Which ones?" "Baragon, Haribo, Neutra, Sailaporo, and Aroniro," Stark listed. "All enhanced through resonance, all following the Sovereign's orders." 6 of the original Espada," Grimmjow muttered. "That's enough firepower to level this entire continent." Naruto processed this information with his characteristic efficiency. They will likely establish separate bases of operation to maximize territorial control. Each will have unique tactical approaches based on their aspects of death. He turned to Stark. "Will you assist us in countering this threat?" The Primera considered this briefly. "I didn't come here to fight my fellow Espada, but I also don't want to see unnecessary destruction." He sighed heavily. "I suppose I can help coordinate defense at least." With Stark's reluctant agreement, they returned to the Hokage's office to develop a comprehensive response strategy. The intelligence he provided proved invaluable. Locations where the other Espada had likely emerged, their enhanced abilities through dimensional resonance, and the approximate timeline for the dimensional harvest. "The Sovereign plans to use this world as a power source," Stark explained. "By establishing control points across the continent, they can create a network that draws spiritual energy from this dimension back to Hueco Mundo. Essentially spiritual colonization," Naruto concluded, "using our world to fuel their own." Tsunade's expression hardened. "That is unacceptable. What's our counter strategy?" "Division of forces," Naruto stated. "We must confront each Espada individually before they can establish their control points. Once operational, these points would create a self-reinforcing network, making subsequent confrontations exponentially more difficult." The defense plan took shape quickly. 6 teams would deploy to intercept the Espada at their projected locations. Each team would include spiritually aware Shinobi, Soul Society representatives, and either Naruto, Grimmjow, or Stark as the primary combat specialist against Arrancar threats. "Baragon is mine," Grimmjow declared. "I've wanted to take down that arrogant fossil for years." You lack the specific abilities needed to counter his aging powers, Naruto pointed out. I will confront Baragan. You should face Neutra, whose combat style matches yours more effectively. And I'll handle Haribo, Stark said. We've always had a mutual respect. I might be able to reason with her before fighting becomes necessary. The remaining 3 Espada would be confronted by combined teams led by Captain Sui Feng, specialized in assassination techniques, and Konoha's most spiritually adept Jonin. As preparations continued, Naruto took a moment to speak privately with Hinata, who would be accompanying him to face Baragan. His power is absolute aging, Naruto explained. Everything near him decays, objects, energy, even space itself. Your gentle fist techniques will need modification to remain effective within his senescence field. Hinata nodded, determination clear in her pale eyes. I've been developing a variation that channels spiritual energy rather than just chakra. It might bypass his aging effect since spiritual particles exist partially outside normal time. Naruto studied her with that analytical gaze that had become so familiar but now contained something else, a subtle appreciation that went beyond tactical assessment. Your adaptation continues to impress, he stated. Few in this world have integrated spiritual concepts so effectively into their existing techniques. Coming from him, this was high praise indeed. Hinata smiled softly, understanding the deeper acknowledgement behind his typically reserved words. The teams deployed at dawn, spreading across Fire Country and beyond to intercept the Espada before they could establish their control points. Naruto led his group, consisting of Hinata, Neji, and 2 Shinigami officers, toward the northern mountains where Baragan had been detected. They traveled in focused silence, Naruto occasionally providing additional tactical information about their target. Baragan Luisenbaron was the Segunda Espada representing aging. Before Aizen conquered Hueco Mundo, he ruled as its king. His arrogance is matched only by his power. Naruto's tone remained even, analytical. His Resurrección, Arrogante, creates a field of accelerated time that decays anything it touches. Even spiritual pressure deteriorates within his influence. How do we counter such an ability? Neji asked pragmatically. Conventional attacks are ineffective, Naruto acknowledged. But his power has one fundamental weakness. It cannot decay what is already decayed to absolute limits. I will use Segunda Etapa's unique spiritual composition to create openings. You will exploit those moments precisely. As they approached the mountain range, the environment began showing signs of Baragan's presence. Vegetation withered inexplicably. Rock surfaces crumbled to dust. Even the air felt thin and stale, as if aged beyond its natural state. At the center of this decay stood a massive stone fortress that hadn't existed days before, constructed through some application of Baragan's powers to accelerate geological processes. Its architecture resembled Las Noches, but with elements that seemed drawn from ancient civilizations of the Shinobi world. Impressive adaptation, Naruto observed. He's integrated aspects of this world's structural design principles with Hueco Mundo aesthetics. He's expecting us, Hinata reported, her Byakugan active. I can see him on a throne at the center of the fortress. His spiritual pressure is distorted somehow, like it's overlapping with itself multiple times. The dimensional resonance effect, Naruto confirmed. He's drawing power from alternative versions of himself across dimensions. They approached the fortress directly. Stealth would be pointless against Baragan's sensory abilities. At the massive entrance, they were met by skeleton-like Arrancar servants that Baragan had apparently brought with him or created locally. Lord Baragan anticipates your arrival, Ulquiorra Cifer, one stated in a hollow voice. He grants you audience as befits one Espada addressing another. I am no longer merely Ulquiorra, Naruto replied. I am Naruto Uzumaki as well, and I come not for audience but confrontation. The servant bowed mechanically. All who enter acknowledge the sovereignty of Baragan Luisenbaron, true king of Hueco Mundo, and soon ruler of this realm as well. They were led through corridors where the aging effect intensified. The Shinigami officers activated protective Kido to slow the decay's impact on their equipment. Hinata and Neji channeled spiritual energy through their chakra networks, creating a buffering effect that Naruto had helped them develop specifically for this encounter. The throne room was a massive chamber with a ceiling that's open to an artificial night sky, a recreation of Hueco Mundo's eternal darkness. Upon a throne of aged bone sat Baragan, his crown-like mask fragment gleaming in the pale light. His spiritual pressure radiated outward in visible waves, each pulse aging the surrounding environment slightly. Ulquiorra Cifer, Baragan's voice echoed through the chamber. The Empty One returns, though in diminished form. Have you come to pledge loyalty to your rightful king? Naruto assessed the Segunda Espada carefully. The dimensional resonance was visible as overlapping auras around Baragan's form, echoes of his alternative selves merging with his primary existence. I have come to prevent the dimensional harvest, Naruto stated directly. Your presence here threatens the stability of this world. Baragan laughed, the sound dry and ancient. Stability? All things decay, Ulquiorra. All things age and die. I merely accelerate the inevitable. This world will wither under my touch, providing the energy our master requires. The dimensional sovereign, Naruto said. Who are they? The one who understands that power flows from death, Baragan replied. They have shown me worlds where I reign supreme, where even Aizen bow before me. Through dimensional resonance, I access that power, the combined might of every Baragan across reality. Naruto could see the corruption in this process, how it amplified Baragan's worst traits while suppressing any potential for growth or adaptation. The Segunda Espada had always been arrogant, but now that arrogance had been reinforced by witnessing versions of himself that had succeeded where he had failed. Your resonance is imbalanced, Naruto observed. You draw only from dimensions that reinforce your existing perspectives. True dimensional awareness would show you also the futures where your approach fails. This observation visibly angered Baragan. Enough philosophy. You were always tediously analytical, Ulquiorra. Will you submit or perish? Neither, Naruto replied simply. With that, he activated Primera Etapa. His transformation rippled against Baragan's aging field, the two spiritual pressures creating visible distortion where they met. The Shinigami officers moved to prearranged positions around the chamber, while Hinata and Neji activated their enhanced Byakugan, allowing them to perceive the patterns in Baragan's dimensional resonance. Your release means nothing before time itself, Baragan declared, standing from his throne. Rot arrogante. His transformation was immediate and dramatic. Flesh and clothing dissolved away, leaving an ornate skeletal figure draped in a purple royal cloak. His crown expanded, and in his hand formed a massive Grand Calavera axe that radiated decay. The aging field intensified exponentially. Portions of the floor and walls began crumbling to dust. One of the Shinigami officers winced as his protective Kido visibly aged, the spell deteriorating under Baragan's influence. Respira, Baragan intoned, exhaling a black miasma that represented absolute aging. Naruto used Sonido to avoid the direct attack while analyzing its properties. The black mist decayed everything it touched, converting matter instantly to dust. Conventional defenses would be useless. Hinata, Neji, execute pattern 3, Naruto commanded. Shinigami officers, maintain distance and provide range support per the established protocol. The Hyuga cousins moved with practiced coordination, channeling spiritual energy through their gentle fist techniques to target specific points around the chamber, points Naruto had identified during their approach as potential weak spots in the fortress's spiritual architecture. Naruto himself engaged Baragan directly, using Sonido to approach from multiple angles simultaneously. His analysis had confirmed that while Baragan's aging field affected everything nearby, it required concentration to maintain its maximum effect in all directions simultaneously. Cero Oscuras, Naruto fired the black energy beam not at Baragan directly, which would have been futile as the energy would decay before impact, but at the ceiling above him, calculated to destabilize the chamber's structural integrity. Pathetic, Baragan laughed as debris fell through his aging field, turning to dust before reaching him. No physical attack can touch me. Physical attacks were never the primary strategy, Naruto replied calmly. While Baragan's attention had been on Naruto, Hinata and Neji had completed their task, disrupting the spiritual architecture of the fortress at key points. The Shinigami officers had simultaneously erected a specialized Kido barrier designed by Soul Society specifically to contain aging-type spiritual pressure. The combined effect created a momentary fluctuation in Baragan's field, a split-second vulnerability that Naruto had anticipated and prepared for. In that instant, Naruto entered Segunda Etapa, his transformation so rapid that even Baragon's enhanced senses barely registered it before completion. In this form, Naruto's spiritual pressure manifested differently, not as power to be aged, but as emptiness that existed partially outside conventional time. Impossible, Baragon growled as Naruto's Lanza del Relampago penetrated his respira without decaying. Nothing escapes aging. Emptiness cannot age, Naruto stated, his voice distorted in this form. It exists in a state of perpetual nihility. The javelin struck Baragon's skeletal form, creating a crack in his seemingly invulnerable defense. Through this crack, Hinata delivered a precisely calculated gentle fist strike, infused with spiritual energy calibrated to disrupt the dimensional resonance pattern. Baragon roared in outrage, his aging field intensifying defensively. The fortress began disintegrating around them as his control slipped, his power lashing out indiscriminately. "You dare," he raged. "I am the king. I am time itself." "You are a fragment clinging to past glory," Naruto replied, unmoved by the display. "And your resonance is fundamentally flawed." With methodical precision, the team executed the remainder of their strategy. The Shinigami officers used specialized Kido to target the visible resonance patterns Hinata and Neji identified. Naruto maintained pressure on Baragon directly, forcing him to divide his attention between multiple threats. Gradually, the dimensional resonance destabilized. The overlapping auras around Baragon flickered and separated, his connection to his alternative selves weakening. As this occurred, his power, while still formidable, became more focused and less chaotic. "What are you doing to me?" Baragon demanded, his voice losing its multi-dimensional echo. "Severing your imbalanced resonance," Naruto explained, "allowing your primary exist to reassert proper dimensional alignment." With a final coordinated attack, Naruto's Lanza creating an opening, Hinata and Neji striking precise spiritual points, and the Shinigami officers sealing the fractured resonance, Baragon's enhanced state collapsed entirely. The Segunda Espada fell to one knee, his skeletal form reverting partially to his sealed state. The aging field receded to a manageable radius around him. "Kill me then," Baragon growled. "Complete your victory." "Death is not the objective," Naruto replied, maintaining Segunda Etapa but lowering his weapon. "Neutralization of the threat to this world is sufficient." He approached the weakened Espada, studying him analytically. "The dimensional resonance corrupted your perception. It showed you only versions of yourself that succeeded as king, feeding your arrogance while suppressing your capacity for adaptation." Baragon laughed bitterly. "Adaptation? What need has time itself for change?" "All things change," Naruto stated. "Even time, even emptiness. I have learned this through reincarnation. Your resistance to this fundamental truth is what made you vulnerable to manipulation." For the first time, Baragon seemed to truly see the being addressing him, not merely Ulquiorra in a child's body, but something that had evolved beyond the Espada he had known. "What are you now, Ulquiorra Cifer?" he asked, genuine curiosity briefly overcoming his arrogance. "I am becoming," Naruto replied simply, "neither hollow nor human entirely, but something that integrates aspects of both while transcending their limitations." This philosophical exchange was interrupted by a massive spiritual pressure suddenly manifesting throughout the region, a presence that both Espada recognized immediately. "The Sovereign," Baragon murmured. "They come to ensure the harvest proceeds." The air split open. Not a standard garganta, but something more complex, a dimensional aperture that showed multiple realities simultaneously within its swirling depths. Through this opening stepped a figure that caused even Naruto's typically impassive expression to show shock. "Aizen," he whispered. But not quite Aizen as he had known him. This being wore Aizen's face and form, but with fundamental differences: eyes that shift between colors, hair that seemed to phase between lengths and styles, clothing that incorporated elements from multiple dimensional variations of the same person. "Not precisely," the figure replied, his voice carrying the same smooth confidence but with underlying harmonic tones. "I am what Aizen becomes when freed from single-dimensional constraints. I am the sovereign of all possible Aizens across the dimensional spectrum." "Dimensional resonance taken to its logical extreme," Naruto observed. not merely drawing power from alternative selves, but fully integrating them. The sovereign smiled, that same calculating smile that Aizen had always worn. As analytical as ever, Ulquiorra, or should I call you Naruto Uzumaki now? Your reincarnation was an unexpected variable, but one I've been observing with interest. You orchestrated the Espada incursion, Naruto stated rather than asked. Of course. The new dimensional interfaces you so cleverly established made it possible to extend my influence to this world. The sovereign gestured casually, the movement leaving trails of afterimages as if multiple versions of himself were moving simultaneously. Your solution to prevent forced convergence actually created the perfect conditions for my more selective approach. Naruto assessed this new threat with rapid calculation. The sovereign's power level exceeded anything he had anticipated, possibly beyond even his segunda etapa when enhanced with the Nine-Tails chakra. The dimensional harvest, Naruto said. Explain its true purpose. The sovereign paced with casual confidence. Simple, really. By establishing control points across this dimension, I create a network that resonates with identical networks across multiple realities. The combined system allows me to harvest spiritual energy from all dimensions simultaneously, achieving power beyond even what the Soul King possesses. And the cost to this world? Hinata asked, stepping forward despite the crushing spiritual pressure. The sovereign regarded her with mild curiosity. Significant but not total. Think of it as spiritual taxation. This dimension would experience gradual spiritual depletion. Souls would weaken, chakra would diminish. Eventually your world would become a spiritual desert. But physical existence would continue, albeit in a diminished state. Unacceptable, Naruto stated flatly. I expected you'd say that. The sovereign sighed with feigned disappointment, which is why I prepared contingencies. With a gesture, 5 additional dimensional apertures opened throughout the chamber. Through each stepped another enhanced Espada, Hierro, Noilaporo, Aroniero, and unexpectedly, Ulquiorra himself. Surprised? The sovereign asked, noting Naruto's reaction to his doppelganger. This Ulquiorra comes from a dimension where you never experienced that troublesome moment of empathy during your fight with Kurosaki. His emptiness remains pure, uncorrupted by emotion or connection. The alternate Ulquiorra studied Naruto with cold disdain. Pathetic, he stated in that familiar monotone. You've allowed yourself to become contaminated by human sentiment. Naruto assessed the situation with rapid tactical analysis. 6-dimensionally enhanced Espada plus the sovereign himself presented odds that even his most optimistic calculations couldn't overcome with current resources. But before he could formulate a response, another presence arrived. Stark appeared through a flash of Sonido, followed by Grimmjow and Captain Suifang. Figured you'd need backup, Grimmjow grinned, drawing his Zanpakuto. Noitra was disappointingly easy to track down and neutralize. Stark sighed, looking at the assembled Espada. This is getting complicated. 6-on-6 doesn't sound fair. 7, the sovereign corrected. And I count only 5 on your side, including the Hyuga. 8, came another voice as Lillinet appeared. Don't forget me, you multidimensional jerk. And 9, added Neji, taking a combat stance beside his cousin. The sovereign's expression remained unperturbed. Numbers are irrelevant before dimensional superiority. Each of my enhanced Espada draws power from countless versions of themselves. You face not individuals, but multitudes. We face entities whose connections to their original nature has been corrupted, Naruto countered. Their resonance is fundamentally imbalanced, drawing only aspects that reinforce your control while suppressing their core identities. This observation struck a chord with Hierro, whose loyalty had always been to her fraction rather than any master. Her enhanced form wavered slightly as doubt entered her resonance pattern. The sovereign noticed this hesitation. Enough talk. Espada, eliminate these obstacles to our harvest. What followed was a battle of unprecedented scale and complexity. Each dimensionally enhanced Espada engaged their counterparts from Naruto's alliance. Baragon, though weakened from his earlier defeat, recovered enough to side with Naruto against the sovereign, his pride unable to accept being discarded so easily by his supposed master. The alternate Ulquiorra targeted Naruto specifically, creating a mirror match of extraordinary precision. Both utilized Sonido to maneuver at speeds barely perceptible to the others. Both fired Cero Oscuras that collided with catastrophic force, blasting holes through the fortress walls. "You have forgotten what emptiness truly means," the alternate Ulquiorra stated as they clashed. "You have filled yourself with meaningless connections." "I have discovered what you never questioned," Naruto countered. "The heart exists beyond the physical. Connection gives purpose to existence." "Purpose?" his doppelganger scoffed. "There is only oblivion. Power exists to enforce will upon nothingness, nothing more." Their battle escalated as both entered Segunda Etapa simultaneously. The twin transformations created a reality distortion field where their spiritual pressures overlapped, causing spatial anomalies throughout the chamber. Hinata and Neji found themselves confronting Hierro, whose ability to absorb the powers of those he consumed made him unpredictable. His dimensional enhancement allowed him to access abilities from souls he had devoured across multiple realities simultaneously. "Your gentle fist is impressive," the lower head cackled as he shifted between various absorbed techniques. "But I've consumed Hyuga from 6 different dimensions." To demonstrate, he performed a corrupted version of the 8 trigrams 64 palms, forcing the cousins to defend with their own superior mastery of the technique. Grimmjow faced Neutra with savage glee, their mutual hatred transcending dimensional boundaries. "I've been waiting to tear you apart since Las Noches," the blue-haired Espada snarled as he released Pantera. Stark reluctantly engaged Harabel, hoping to reach through her dimensional enhancement rather than destroy her. "Harabel, this isn't you," he called as he dodged her enhanced water techniques. "The resonance is showing you only sacrifice without purpose." Captain Suifeng confronted Sailaporo, her assassination techniques proving challenging for even his analytical abilities to counter. The mad scientist Espada laughed maniacally as he adapted to her attacks in real time. His dimensional enhancement, allowing him to implement countermeasures from multiple reality variants simultaneously. At the center of this chaos, the Sovereign observed with calculated interest, occasionally intervening when one of his Espadas seemed at risk of defeat. His power dwarfed even the enhanced Arrancar, each casual gesture generating effects that warped reality itself. As the battle progressed, Naruto began to perceive a pattern in the dimensional resonance. Each enhanced Espada maintained connection to their alternate selves through a specific spiritual frequency, a connection that could potentially be disrupted with precisely calibrated interference. During a momentary separation from his doppelganger, Naruto communicated this insight to Hinata through their established battle sign system. Her Byakugan could perceive these frequencies more clearly than anyone else present. The resonance anchors at 7 points in their spiritual network, she confirmed between defensive maneuvers against Hierro. Similar to Tenketsu, but existing partially outside conventional space. This information provided the key to their counter strategy. While continuing to battle his alternate self, Naruto used shadow clones to relay instructions to their allies, target the resonance anchor points rather than attempting to overcome the enhanced Espada's raw power. The alternate Ulquiorra noticed this tactical shift. "Clever," he acknowledged, "but futile. The Sovereign's dimensional mastery exceeds your understanding." "Perhaps," Naruto replied. "But unlike you, I have evolved beyond reliance on a single approach." In that moment, Naruto did something unprecedented. He partially released the Nine-Tails chakra while maintaining Segunda Etapa. The combination created a hybrid form that his doppelganger couldn't comprehend, a fusion of hollow, human, and tailed beast energies that existed outside the parameters of dimensional resonance. "What is this?" the alternate Ulquiorra demanded, genuine surprise breaking through his emotional emptiness. "Adaptation," Naruto replied simply. In this hybrid state, Naruto could perceive the dimensional frequencies directly. He launched a precisely calibrated attack, not at his doppelganger's physical form, but at the resonance anchors Hinata had identified. Each strike severed one connection to an alternate reality, progressively isolating the Ulquiorra before him from his dimensional power sources. Observing Naruto's success, the others implemented similar approaches. Hinata and Neji used their enhanced gentle fist to target Hierro's resonance points. Grimmjow discovered that his Desgaron could slice through Neutra's dimensional connections when properly focused. Captain Sui Fang's Nijeki Kasatsu, when applied to the correct spiritual locations, disrupted Sileporo's enhancement pattern. Stark took a different approach with Hierro. Rather than attacking her resonance directly, he used his own spiritual pressure to harmonize with hers, creating a stabilizing influence that allowed her original personality to reassert control over the corrupted enhancement. Hierro, he called as he maintained this resonance harmony. Remember your fraction. Remember why you fight. Not for power or dominance, but for protection. These words reached through the dimensional corruption, awakening Hierro's true nature. Her enhancement wavered, then realigned to a more balanced configuration, still drawing power from alternate selves, but now under her own control rather than the sovereign's. One by one, the enhanced Espada were either defeated or liberated from corrupted resonance. The alternate Ulquiorra, severed from his dimensional power sources, found himself outmatched by Naruto's hybrid capabilities. Neutra fell to Grimmjow's relentless assault. Eren Nero's adaptability failed against the Hyuga cousins' precise spiritual targeting. Sileporo's analytical genius couldn't compensate for Captain Sui Fang's assassination expertise. The Sovereign, seeing his forces faltering, finally entered the battle directly. His power manifested as reality distortion on a massive scale, architectural elements from multiple dimensional versions of Las Noches merging and separating around them. Gravity shifting unpredictably, kept time flowing at different rates throughout the chamber. Impressive adaptability, he acknowledged, addressing Naruto specifically. As expected from one who has already transcended conventional dimensional limitations through reincarnation. But you face not merely Aizen, but every successful iteration of myself across the dimensional spectrum. And therein lies your fundamental flaw, Naruto replied, maintaining his hybrid form despite the tremendous energy cost. You have selectively integrated only the successful variations, ignoring the failures that would provide balance and perspective. This observation struck deeper than expected. For a brief moment, the Sovereign's perfect composure slipped, revealing fragmentation in his seemingly unified presence. Versions of Aizen that momentarily disagreed with each other before being subsumed back into the dominant personality. Naruto recognized this vulnerability immediately. Your resonance is inherently unstable. You suppress the versions of yourself that experience defeat, creating dissonance in your dimensional integration. Silence, the Sovereign commanded, unleashing a wave of spiritual pressure that staggered everyone present. I have ascended beyond such limitations. I am the perfect distillation of Aizen across all reality. No, Naruto countered. You are a fragmented entity, clinging to illusions of perfection while rejecting the growth that comes from acknowledging failure. This philosophical attack proved more effective than physical confrontation. The Sovereign's form flickered as internal conflicts intensified. Versions of Aizen that had been defeated by Ichigo Kurosaki, versions that had ultimately recognized the emptiness of their ambitions, versions that had found different paths. Sensing this opportunity, Naruto coordinated a final, concentrated assault. He, Stark, Grimmjow, and the now allied Hierro combined their spiritual pressures into a harmonized attack focused on the Sovereign's primary resonance nexus, the point where his original self connected to his dimensional variants. Lanza del Relampago, Naruto announced, forming not one but 4 javelins of concentrated spiritual energy. Cero Metraleta, Stark added, generating hundreds of precision Ceros. Desgaron, Grimmjow contributed, his energy claws extending to their maximum size. Cascada, Hierro completed, channeling her water-based spiritual energy into the combined attack. The Sovereign attempted to counter with a reality-warping barrier, drawing on the collective power of countless Aizens. But the harmonized attack, precisely targeted at his resonance nexus, penetrated his defenses at their fundamental weak point, the suppressed dissonance between his various selves. The impact was catastrophic, not in physical destruction, but in dimensional destabilization. The Sovereign's carefully constructed resonance pattern shattered, causing his integrated selves to separate violently. Hundreds of partial Aizens briefly appeared as translucent echoes before being drawn back to their original dimensions, leaving only the primary Aizen standing before them. This Aizen, the original from which the Sovereign had begun his dimensional conquest, stared at Naruto with a mixture of rage and reluctant admiration. "Even now you surprise me, Ulquiorra," he said, his voice no longer carrying multi-dimensional harmonics. "Or perhaps I should not be surprised. Your emptiness always held the potential for perfect adaptation." "I am not merely Ulquiorra anymore," Naruto replied, maintaining his hybrid form despite growing fatigue. "That emptiness now has purpose, connection, heart." Aizen laughed softly. How poetic and yet pragmatically effective. He glanced around at the assembled forces opposing him. "It seems this particular game is concluded. But dimensions are infinite, Ulquiorra Naruto. Our paths will cross again." Before anyone could move to capture him, Aizen opened a dimensional aperture, smaller and less stable than before, but sufficient for his escape. He stepped through, the portal closing behind him instantly. In the aftermath, the remaining Espada faced a critical decision. Baragon, though defeated, retained his pride and independence. Harabel, freed from corrupted resonance, sought purpose beyond endless conflict. The alternate Ulquiorra, severed from dimensional enhancement, confronted the reality of his counterpart's evolution. "You have become different," the alternate Ulquiorra observed, studying Naruto as both reverted to their sealed forms. "Neither hollow nor human, but something I cannot categorize." "Categories are limitations," Naruto replied. "Evolution transcends them." After consultation with Soul Society and Konoha's leadership, an unprecedented arrangement was established. The Espada who chose cooperation would be permitted to return to Hueco Mundo with agreements not to interfere with the Shinobi world. Those who wished to remain would be integrated into the dimensional defense protocols, their knowledge and abilities providing valuable assets against future threats. Harabel chose to return to Hueco Mundo, intending to establish a more balanced relationship between realms. Baragon, his pride wounded, but his perspective expanded, reluctantly acknowledged the benefits of dimensional stability over conquest. The alternate Ulquiorra, fascinated by his counterpart's evolution, requested permission to observe Naruto's continuing development, a request granted under strict monitoring protocols. Stark, to everyone's surprise, expressed interest in staying. "This world is quieter somehow," he explained with his characteristic weariness. "Fewer souls get crushed by my presence here. Plus," he added, glancing at Lily-Net, "she likes the ramen." In the days following what became known as the Espada War, Naruto found himself contemplating the nature of his existence more deeply than ever before. The confrontation with his alternate self had provided a mirror reflecting what he might have remained without the influence of human connection. "You seem troubled," Hinata observed as they sat atop the Hokage monument one evening. "Not troubled," Naruto clarified. "Contemplative. Meeting myself, what I would have remained without this reincarnation, was instructive." "How so?" she asked gently. Naruto considered her question with his usual analytical thoroughness. He was stronger in some ways, more focused, more singular in purpose, but ultimately limited by his emptiness. Seeing him confirmed that my evolution has been optimal. Hinata smiled at his characteristically technical assessment of what others might describe as personal growth. "You've learned to connect without losing your analytical nature. That's why you could defeat him. You understand both perspectives." This insight resonated with Naruto's own conclusions. His journey from Ulquiorra's absolute emptiness to his current state hadn't abandoned his analytical core, but enhanced it with emotional context and connection. The sovereign failed because he rejected integration of failure and weakness, Naruto observed. He selected only aspects that reinforced his existing beliefs. "While you've embraced both your natures," Hinata completed his thought. Ulquiorra's analytical strength and Naruto's capacity for connection. As the sun set over Konoha, Naruto Uzumaki, the reincarnation of Ulquiorra Cifer, the hollow who had found heart, contemplated the next phase of his evolution. The Espada War had been won, but Aizen's escape ensured future challenges. The dimensional interfaces remained vulnerable to exploitation by those seeking power across realities. But for the first time in either existence, Naruto felt something approaching optimism. Not the naive enthusiasm of his original self, nor the nihilistic emptiness of Ulquiorra, but a balanced perspective that acknowledged both possibility and limitation. "Tomorrow's training will focus on stabilizing the hybrid transformation," he stated, returning to practical matters. The combination of segunda etapa with the nine-tails chakra offers tactical advantages worth developing further. Hinata nodded, accustomed to his shifts between philosophical depth and practical analysis. I'll help. My Byakugan can monitor the spiritual chakra integration points. As they descended from the monument, Naruto sensed a familiar presence watching from a distance. His alternate self, observing with clinical curiosity. The two Ulquiorras briefly made eye contact, one having found meaning beyond emptiness, the other beginning to question his absolute nihilism for the first time. A silent understanding passed between them, acknowledgement that evolution continued for both, though along different paths. Then the alternate Ulquiorra vanished with Sonido, returning to his assigned monitoring station at the Dimensional Interface Outpost. The war was over, but the greater journey of transcendence had only begun. For Naruto Uzumaki, once Ulquiorra Cifer, now something beyond either identity, the path forward would integrate the lessons of both existences into something truly unique in any dimension. The final transcendence. 1 year after the Espada War, Konoha had adapted to its new reality as a nexus point between dimensions. The Spiritual Defense Unit had expanded into a full-fledged division, with specialized teams trained to handle various supernatural threats. Regular communication with Soul Society ensured coordinated responses to dimensional disturbances. Even some of the more cooperative Arrancar had become unlikely allies, providing insights into hollow behavior and Hueco Mundo politics. Naruto, now 17, had continued his evolution at an accelerated pace. His mastery of the hybrid form, combining segunda etapa with the nine-tails chakra, had progressed beyond initial expectations. Where once this transformation had drained his reserves within minutes, he could now maintain it for hours while performing complex techniques. More significant than his power development, however, was his emotional growth. The analytical detachment that had defined him since awakening Ulquiorra's memories remained his core approach to problems, but it now coexisted with genuine connections to those around him. His relationship with Hinata had deepened into something neither could precisely define, but both valued immensely, a balance of intellectual understanding and emotional resonance. On this particular morning, Naruto stood at the primary dimensional interface monitoring station, reviewing data from across the connected realms. The interfaces had stabilized over the past year, forming a network that allowed controlled interaction while maintaining essential boundaries. Fluctuations in sectors 7 and 12, he noted to the monitoring team. Consistent with normal variance or potentially concerning? Neji, who had become the station's chief analyst, studied the patterns carefully, within established parameters, but trending toward the upper threshold, worth continued observation. Naruto nodded, appreciating the precision of Neji's assessment. Their working relationship had developed into one of mutual respect, Neji's attention to detail complementing Naruto's broader dimensional understanding. Their analysis was interrupted by the arrival of a hell butterfly, which fluttered directly to Naruto. The message it conveyed caused his typically composed expression to tighten slightly. Soul Society reports Aizen has been detected accessing multiple dimensional corridors simultaneously, he informed Neji. Pattern suggests he's implementing a revised version of the dimensional harvest. Before they could discuss implications, Stark appeared through Sonido, his perpetually tired expression more serious than usual. Bad news from Hueco Mundo, the Primera Espada reported. Harabel sends word that something's happening to the dimensional fabric there. Reality is folding somehow. Las Noches exists in multiple configurations simultaneously. These reports, combined with the interface fluctuations, painted a concerning picture. Whatever Aizen was attempting, it affected multiple dimensions in coordinated fashion. Naruto made an immediate decision. Convene the Dimensional Response Council, Priority 1 alert to all affiliated realms. Within an hour, representatives from various dimensions had gathered in Konoha's secure council chamber, a specialized facility designed to accommodate beings with diverse dimensional properties. Captain Ukitake represented Soul Society, having taken personal interest in the Shinobi world's unique spiritual development. Harabel had crossed from Hueco Mundo to provide direct intelligence. Even Naruto's alternate self attended, his clinical observations of dimensional phenomena proving valuable despite his continued emotional detachment. Tsunade opened the proceedings with characteristic directness. What exactly are we facing? Naruto stood at the center of the chamber, activating a specialized projection technique that displayed dimensional data visually. Aizen appears to be implementing what I would term Dimensional Convergence 2.0, a refined approach to his previous attempt at harvesting energy across realities. The projection showed multiple dimensions represented as overlapping spheres, with energy flows being redirected through specialized conduits. Rather than attempting to merge dimensions or directly harvest their energy, he's creating what might be termed dimensional fold points, locations where reality exists in multiple states simultaneously, Naruto explained. These fold points allow him to access the power of multiple dimensions without the instability of forced convergence. Like quantum superposition, but for entire dimensional states, observed Sakura, who had developed expertise in the medical implications of dimensional phenomena, existing in multiple configurations until observed or interacted with. Precisely, Naruto confirmed. The genius of this approach is its subtlety. By maintaining dimensional separation while creating localized fold points, he avoids triggering the defensive responses we established after the last incursion. How does this serve his goals? Yukitake asked, his gentle demeanor belying his tactical acumen. By creating these fold points at specific dimensional coordinates, he establishes a network that passively draws energy from the natural movement between realms, Naruto explained. Rather than forced extraction, it's more akin to positioning a water wheel in a river. The energy is harvested without disrupting the natural flow. And the danger? Tsunade pressed. Multifaceted, Naruto replied. First, any significant energy diversion weakens the affected dimensions over time. Second, the fold points create localized reality instability, areas where physical laws become unpredictable. Third, and most concerning, these fold points could potentially be weaponized as dimensional apertures, allowing targeted strikes against specific realities. This assessment sobered the council. The threat wasn't as immediately apocalyptic as forced convergence, but potentially more insidious and harder to counter. What's his endgame? Harabelle asked, her practical nature focusing on motivations. Based on analysis of his previous actions and current pattern, I believe Aizen seeks to position himself as a dimensional nexus being, an entity that exists at the intersection of all realities simultaneously, Naruto theorized. Such a state would grant him influence over fundamental cosmic principles. Godhood, in essence, Ukitake translated grimly. A simplified but not inaccurate characterization, Naruto acknowledged. The alternate Ulquiorra, who had remained silent until now, spoke with that familiar monotone that Naruto had long since modulated in his own speech. His approach displays elements of both ambition and insecurity. He seeks to transcend limitations while simultaneously controlling all variables, a paradoxical objective. This observation, coming from a being who still embodied pure analytical detachment, carried particular weight. Naruto nodded in agreement with his alternate self-assessment. The paradox creates vulnerability, he noted. By attempting to control all dimensional variables simultaneously, he creates points of inevitable contradiction. After extensive deliberation, the council developed a multi-phase response strategy. First, specialized teams would locate and monitor the established fold points across dimensions. Second, Soul Society would implement Keto-based stabilization protocols at critical junctures. Third, a direct confrontation team would target Aizen himself at the center of his dimensional network. This final team must be comprised of beings with multidimensional properties, Naruto stated. Conventional entities will experience severe disorientation within the fold point network. The composition of this strike team became immediately clear. Naruto himself, as a reincarnated being with integrated dimensional aspects, his alternate self, representing pure Espada capabilities, Stark and Lilynet, whose divided yet unified nature provided unique dimensional stability, and Hinata, whose enhanced Byakugan could perceive the structural weaknesses in dimensional constructs. As preparations continued, Naruto took a rare moment for private reflection. He stood atop the Hokage monument, gazing at the village that had become his home in this reincarnation. Contemplating our potential non-existence, came a voice he recognized immediately, his alternate self. Naruto turned to face the pure Ulquiorra, still pale-skinned with tear-track markings and emotionless green eyes, so different from his own now integrated appearance. Calculating probabilities and accepting all outcomes, Naruto corrected. Not quite the same as nihilistic fatalism. His alternate self approached, studying him with clinical interest. Your integration continues to fascinate me. You maintain analytical precision while incorporating emotional variables that should, by all logical assessment, reduce efficacy. The paradox only exists when emotions and analysis are viewed as oppositional rather than complementary, Naruto explained. Emotional connection provides context and meaning to analytical understanding. Meaning, the alternate Ulquiorra repeated, testing the concept. You placed your hand over your chest when you said this. The heart, again. The metaphorical heart, Naruto clarified. The seat of connection between beings. What I question in my final moments as purely Ulquiorra. The alternate studied him silently for several moments. I begin to comprehend, though not experience. Your evolution suggests possibilities I had not calculated. This admission, coming from a being defined by absolute certainty in his nihilistic perspective, represented significant development. Naruto acknowledged it with a slight nod. Observation alters the observer, he stated. Your presence in this world has initiated your own evolution, however gradual. Before his alternate could respond, they sensed a massive dimensional disturbance, a fold point manifesting directly above Konoha. The sky seemed to crease along invisible lines, showing glimpses of multiple realities simultaneously within the folds. Soul Society's serene architecture, Hueco Mundo's eternal night, and other dimensions neither recognized. It begins, the alternate Ulquiorra observed. Earlier than anticipated, Naruto agreed. Gather the strike team. We move immediately. Throughout Konoha, alarms sounded as the spiritual defense unit mobilized. Citizens with trained awareness could perceive the dimensional distortion, while those without such training noticed only strange atmospheric effects, multiple suns briefly visible, gravity fluctuations, momentary echoes of sounds from other realities. The strike team assembled at the Dimensional Monitoring Station, where specialized equipment had been prepared for their mission. Soul Society had provided modified spirit-restricting cloaks that would help stabilize their existence when moving through dimensional fold points. Hinata had developed a technique to extend her Byakugan's perception across dimensional boundaries, allowing her to guide the team through the complex fold network. Stark and Lilynet had synchronized their divided consciousness to maintain stability in reality-shifting environments. The alternate Ulquiorra provided analytical precision that even Naruto's integrated mind couldn't match. The central fold point, where all dimensional creases intersect, will be Aizen's location, Naruto explained as they made final preparations. We must traverse the peripheral fold points to reach it, adapting to each reality shift as we progress. Like climbing to the center of a web, Hinata observed, her Byakugan already active and perceiving the intricate dimensional patterns above them. Precisely, Naruto confirmed. Each fold represents a junction between multiple realities. Navigation requires both precise calculation and intuitive adaptation. The alternate Ulquiorra studied the visible distortions. The mathematical precision suggests Aizen has improved his understanding of dimensional mechanics since our last encounter. These aren't crude tiers, but calculated intersections. As they prepared to depart, Tsunade approached Naruto. The Hokage's expression conveyed both authority and concern. Return successful, she stated simply. This village has grown accustomed to having its analytical guardian. Naruto inclined his head slightly. Probability favors our success, though variables remain significant. If we fail to return, implement the containment protocols we established. With those final instructions, the strike team activated their dimensional transit equipment. Specialized seals, combining Soul Society Kido with Shinobi Fuinjutsu, created a protective field around them as they ascended toward the first fold point. The transition felt like passing through layers of reality simultaneously, each fold containing fragments of different dimensions. Gravity shifted unpredictably. Colors existed beyond normal visual spectrum. Sound propagated according to unfamiliar physical laws. Maintain focus on your primary consciousness, Naruto instructed as they navigated the first fold. Your identity is your anchor across dimensional variance. Hinata's Byakugan strained to process the overlapping realities, but her specialized training held. 3 primary pathways ahead. The central fold leads toward our objective, but it's heavily distorted. We proceed directly, Naruto decided. Circuitous routes increase exposure to dimensional variance. As they advanced through the fold network, they encountered physical manifestations of reality distortion. Objects existing in multiple states simultaneously, energy patterns that rewrote local physics, echoes of events from parallel timelines. More concerning were the guardians Aizen had positioned at key junctions, hybrid entities drawing characteristics from multiple dimensions. These guardians possessed abilities that defied conventional categorization, combining hollow techniques with Shinigami Kido and even distorted variations of Shinobi Jutsu. These constructs share Aizen's dimensional resonance signature, the alternate Ulquiorra observed as they confronted the first guardian, a being with a hollow mask that shifted between different forms while wielding what appeared to be a Zanpakuto that phased between solid matter and pure energy. Fragments of his consciousness distributed throughout the network, Naruto confirmed. Tactical approach, disruption rather than destruction. Their combined assault demonstrated the unique strengths each brought to the mission. Naruto's hybrid abilities allowed him to shift between spiritual and physical techniques as needed. His alternate self provided pure Espada power, uncompromised by human limitations. Stark's precision Ceros targeted the Guardian's dimensional anchor points. Hinata's enhanced Gentle Fist struck directly at the energy nodes connecting the construct to Aizen's network. The Guardian dissolved into dimensional fragments, its disruption creating a more stable passage through that particular fold. This pattern repeated as they advanced deeper into the network, each junction protected, each Guardian requiring a unique combination of their abilities to overcome. As they progressed, the alternate Ulquiorra made an observation that gave even Naruto pause. These fold points aren't merely energy extraction mechanisms. They're reorganizing reality on a fundamental level, rewriting the relationships between dimensions. Explain, Naruto requested, recognizing the significance in his alternate's tone. The mathematical patterns suggest Aizen isn't merely positioning himself at the nexus of existing dimensions. He's restructuring the dimensional architecture itself, creating a new cosmic hierarchy with himself at its apex. This revelation elevated the threat beyond their initial assessment. Aizen wasn't seeking mere godhood within the existing multiverse. He was rewriting the multiverse itself to ensure his supremacy was built into its very structure. As they approached the central fold point, the reality distortions intensified. Time flowed inconsistently, moments stretched or compressed unpredictably. Their physical forms began experiencing dimensional variance, occasionally displaying characteristics from their potential alternate selves. Maintain your primary identity, Naruto reminded them as Hinata briefly manifested a hollow-like mask fragment. Stark's form shifted between his divided and unified states, and even his alternate self showed momentary flashes of human emotion. Naruto himself experienced the most severe fluctuations, his form shifting between his current integrated self, pure Ulquiorra, original Naruto, and countless variations that might have existed across other dimensions. The 9 tails within him roared against these fluctuations, its ancient chakra providing an unexpected stabilizing influence. "We've reached the central nexus," Hinata announced as they passed through the final fold. Reality convergence at maximum intensity. The space they entered defied conventional description. It existed simultaneously as a massive chamber reminiscent of Las Nushes, an abstract void similar to the precipice world between Soul Society and the living world, and a temple-like structure with architectural elements from dozens of different dimensions. At its center stood Aizen, or rather, the being Aizen was becoming. His form shifted continuously between different variations of himself, each movement leaving prismatic after-images as multiple versions of the same action occurred simultaneously across different dimensional states. "Ulquiorra," Aizen acknowledged, his voice resonating with harmonic overtones. "Or perhaps I should address you as Naruto Uzumaki now." Your persistence remains impressive across all dimensional variants. Naruto assessed their opponent with analytical precision. Aizen's power had increased exponentially since their last encounter, but more concerning was the nature of that power. Not merely spiritual pressure, but fundamental influence over dimensional constants. Your dimensional restructuring exceeds simple convergence, Naruto stated. You seek to rewrite the fundamental architecture of reality. Aizen smiled, that same calculating expression multiplied across his shifting forms. Perceptive as always. Why merely rule dimensions when one can define them? In the new cosmic order, my will becomes natural law, not imposed upon reality but woven into its very fabric. A fundamental contradiction, the alternate Ulquiorra observed. True natural law exists independent of conscious will. Your construct would collapse under its own paradox. Unless consciousness itself becomes the foundation of natural law, Aizen countered. That is the true transcendence, not merely ascending beyond limitations, but becoming the principle that defines limitation itself. While this philosophical exchange continued, Naruto communicated their attack strategy through subtle signs to his team. They had prepared for this confrontation extensively, developing techniques specifically designed to counter dimensional manipulation at its source. Now, Naruto commanded. Their coordinated assault began with Stark and Lilynet executing a specialized variation of their Resurrección. Rather than simply releasing their sealed form, they created a resonance field that stabilized local dimensional constants, temporarily reducing Aizen's ability to manipulate fundamental reality. Within this stabilized field, the alternate Ulquiorra entered Segunda Etapa directly, bypassing Primera to conserve energy. His transformation generated concentrated spiritual pressure that further reinforced dimensional stability through pure nihilistic certainty, his absolute emptiness paradoxically anchoring reality against Aizen's manipulations. Hinata activated a technique she had developed specifically for this mission, Dimensional Perception Palm. Her Byakugan evolved beyond merely seeing chakra networks to perceiving the actual connections between dimensional layers, allowing her to identify the critical junction points in Aizen's restructuring network. The primary anchors manifest at 7 coordinates, she reported, her voice strained from the immense perceptual load, dimensional frequency oscillating between 3.7 and A2 on the Soul Society scale. Naruto integrated this information instantly, entering his hybrid form, Segunda Etapa, enhanced with precisely controlled Nine-Tails chakra. In this state, his appearance combined the bat-like aspects of Ulquiorra's released form with the fox-like characteristics of the Jinchuriki cloak, creating something entirely unique in any dimension. Fascinating, Aizen commented, genuine scientific curiosity briefly overriding his megalomania. You've achieved integration without dimensional resonance technology, natural transcendence through reincarnation and adaptation. Your resonance technology creates imbalanced enhancement, Naruto replied, his voice carrying both the emotional depth of his human self and the analytical precision of his Espada nature. True integration requires both enhancement and limitation to achieve balance. This philosophical difference represented the fundamental contrast in their approaches to power, Aizen seeking to overcome all limitations, Naruto recognizing that limitations themselves provided the structure necessary for meaningful existence. The battle that followed transcended conventional combat. Aizen manipulated dimensional constants directly, altering gravity, time flow, and even the relationship between cause and effect within the nexus. Attacks sometimes preceded their initiation. Defenses occasionally manifested before threats emerged. Naruto countered with his unique hybrid abilities. Where Aizen rewrote reality through technological manipulation, Naruto adapted to each change through his integrated nature. When gravity intensified 1,000-fold, he shifted his spiritual pressure to compensate. When time accelerated around him, he synchronized his perception through the Nine-Tails ancient consciousness, which existed partially outside conventional temporal flow. Lanza del Relámpago, Naruto announced, forming not the standard energy javelin, but a modified version that incorporated both spiritual energy and Nine-Tails chakra. The result was a weapon that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensional states, capable of striking not just Aizen's physical form, but the dimensional anchor points maintaining his restructuring network. He launched multiple lances with precision, targeting the coordinates Hinata had identified. Aizen countered with barriers that folded reality around themselves, creating defensive pockets where Naruto's attacks existed only as potential rather than actual events. Your integrated abilities are impressive, but fundamentally limited by your commitment to existing dimensional principles, Aizen stated. I have transcended such limitations. To demonstrate, he executed a technique that temporarily removed their team from the primary timeline, placing them in a pocket dimension where his restructuring had already been completed, his godhood established as cosmic law. Within this manufactured reality, their powers diminished rapidly. Stark's resonance field collapsed. The alternate Ulquiorra Segunda Etapa wavered. Hinata's Byakugan struggled to perceive beyond the artificial dimensional constraints. Only Naruto's hybrid form maintained full functionality, his dual nature providing resistance to Aizen's reality manipulation. An illusion, regardless of dimensional sophistication, he assessed. Your fundamental error remains consistent, assuming control equals understanding. With this insight, Naruto executed a technique he had developed through years of integrating his dual heritage, dimensional Cero, heart revelation. This attack wasn't primarily destructive, but perceptual. It fired not outward, but inward, creating a resonance field that revealed the true nature of reality beneath Aizen's manipulations. The manufactured dimension shattered, returning them to the nexus point. More significantly, the technique revealed the actual structure of Aizen's dimensional network, not as the perfect cosmic architecture he envisioned, but as a fundamentally flawed construct built on his inability to truly understand the heart he sought to rule. Impossible, Aizen muttered, his composure slipping as his network's flaws became visible to all present. The calculations were perfect, the resonance harmonics precisely calibrated. Mathematics without meaning, Naruto replied. Structure without heart. Your transcendence is fundamentally empty, Aizen. Power without purpose beyond its own perpetuation. This philosophical attack struck deeper than any physical blow. Aizen's dimensional restructuring depended on absolute certainty in his vision. The revelation of its fundamental emptiness created dissonance in the network itself, contradictions that propagated throughout the system. Sensing this vulnerability, the team executed their coordinated final assault. The alternate Ulquiorra targeted the network's logical inconsistencies with precisely calculated Cero Oscuras. Stark and Lilynet generated a synchronized barrage that disrupted the resonance frequencies, maintaining dimensional cohesion. Hinata struck directly at the junction points where Aizen's consciousness connected to his network. Naruto delivered the decisive blow, not through raw power, but through integrated understanding. He formed a specialized technique that combined the absolute emptiness of Ulquiorra's nature with the connection-seeking heart of Naruto Uzumaki, Corazón del Vacío Iluminado, heart of the enlightened void. This technique manifested as neither energy beam nor physical strike, but as a fundamental truth propagating through Aizen's network. The realization that true transcendence came not from controlling reality, but from understanding one's place within it. Not godhood, but connection. Not dominance, but integration. The effect was catastrophic for Aizen's ambitions. His carefully constructed dimensional architecture began collapsing, not into chaos, but into restored natural order. The fold points reverted to proper dimensional boundaries. Reality reasserted its fundamental principles. Aizen himself experienced the most dramatic transformation. His multiple dimensional selves separated, each returning to its origin dimension. His power, while still immense, returned to the scale of a being existing within reality, rather than defining it. "What have you done?" he demanded, his voice no longer carrying multi-dimensional harmonics. "Restored balance," Naruto replied simply. "Your restructuring violated fundamental principles, not of physics, but of meaning. Reality requires both structure and heart to maintain coherence." As the dimensional network continued reverting to natural order, they found themselves facing a critical decision. The nexus point was destabilizing rapidly. Without Aizen's manipulations maintaining it, this junction between all dimensions would collapse, potentially trapping them outside their home reality. "We must return immediately," the alternate Ulquiorra stated, his analytical assessment confirming what they all sensed: dimensional reversion accelerating beyond sustainable parameters. Their retreat through the fold network proved more challenging than their advance. With Aizen's control removed, the fold points were collapsing unpredictably, dimensional boundaries reasserting themselves with increasing force. Hinata's Byakugan provided essential guidance, identifying the most stable pathways through the dissolving network. Stark created localized stabilization fields that allowed momentary safe passage. The alternate Ulquiorra calculated precise trajectories through the multidimensional chaos. Naruto maintained his hybrid form throughout, using its unique properties to help anchor their group against the dimensional turbulence. The Nine-Tails chakra proved unexpectedly valuable in this environment. Its ancient nature predating some dimensional boundaries provided stability that pure spiritual energy lacked. As they approached the final fold leading back to the Shinobi world, a sudden dimensional surge separated them. Hinata, Stark, and Lilinet were pushed through to safety, but Naruto and his alternate self were diverted to a pocket dimension, a fragment of reality temporarily isolated during the collapse. In this isolated space, the two Ulquiorras faced each other directly, both understanding their predicament with perfect analytical clarity. This pocket dimension will dissolve completely within approximately 3 minutes, the alternate stated. Insufficient time for both of us to locate and traverse an exit point. Naruto nodded, reaching the same conclusion. Conservation of dimensional transit energy suggests a single entity has 3% probability of successful return. What followed was a conversation that transcended their usual analytical exchanges, a moment of genuine connection between two versions of the same being who had evolved along dramatically different paths. "You should return," the alternate Ulquiorra stated. "Your integrated existence represents greater evolutionary potential than my singular nature." Naruto studied his alternate self with newfound understanding. "Your suggestion isn't based solely on logical calculation. You've begun your own evolution toward heart." The alternate Ulquiorra considered this assessment. "Perhaps. Observing your development has been instructive. The concept of heart remains largely theoretical to me, but no longer nonsensical." "A significant evolution from absolute nihilism," Naruto acknowledged. As the pocket dimension continued dissolving around them, the alternate Ulquiorra made a decision that surprised even his integrated counterpart. He began channeling his spiritual energy into Naruto directly. "My existence serves greater purpose through contribution to your continued evolution than through its own perpetuation," he explained as his form began destabilizing. "Consider this data transfer my final analytical conclusion." Naruto recognized the profound significance of this act. Not merely self-sacrifice, which any soldier might perform from duty, but a genuine acknowledgement of meaning beyond self-preservation. His alternate had discovered, in his own analytical way, the heart he had once denied existed. "Your contribution will not be wasted," Naruto promised as he absorbed his alternate spiritual energy. "Your perspective remains valuable within integration." As the alternate Ulquiorra dissolved completely, his final words revealed how far his evolution had progressed. "I believe I begin to understand what you found in this world, Naruto Uzumaki. The heart exists, not merely as metaphor, but as fundamental truth." With his alternate spiritual energy integrated into his own, Naruto identified a destabilizing dimensional seam, a final opportunity to return home. He used their combined power to create a specialized garganta that cut through the dissolving pocket dimension directly back to the Shinobi world. He emerged above Konoha as the last fold points collapsed completely, dimensional boundaries reasserting their natural separation. The sky returned to its normal appearance, though those with spiritual awareness could perceive the subtle changes in the dimensional fabric. Not tears or distortions, but properly regulated interfaces where once chaos had threatened. The village welcomed the return of their strike team with relief and celebration. Naruto provided a comprehensive report to the Dimensional Response Council, explaining both Aizen's defeat and the sacrifice of his alternate self. "The dimensional architecture has been restored to natural balance," he concluded. "The interfaces we established previously remain functional, but have incorporated additional stability mechanisms from this confrontation." And Aizen, Ukitake asked, returned to his origin dimension with his power significantly reduced, Naruto reported. Soul Society's containment protocols should prove adequate against his diminished capabilities. In the days that followed, a new equilibrium established itself across the connected dimensions. Soul Society formalized diplomatic relations with the Shinobi world, establishing permanent ambassador positions in both realms. Hueco Mundo, under Haribo's pragmatic leadership, entered a period of unprecedented stability, with regulated hollow activity reducing incursions across dimensions. For Naruto personally, the integration of his alternate spiritual energy catalyzed a final evolutionary step in his development, where once he had balanced Ulquiorra's analytical nature with Naruto's emotional capacity as separate aspects of himself, he now achieved true synthesis, a unified consciousness that embodied both perspectives simultaneously. This evolution manifested most visibly in his relationship with Hinata. Their connection, which had progressed gradually from tactical alliance to mutual respect to deeper attachment, now blossomed into something neither could have envisioned initially. Your perception extends beyond conventional analysis, Naruto observed as they stood atop the Hokage monument one evening, overlooking the village they had helped save. You recognized potential in me when I was still predominantly Ulquiorra in nature. Hinata smiled softly. I saw integration where others saw contradiction. Your analytical precision never negated capacity for connection, it simply approached it differently. A perspective I now understand fully, Naruto acknowledged. My alternate's final contribution completed a synthesis I had been approaching incrementally. This synthesis extended to his role within Konoha as well, where once he had served primarily as tactical advisor and dimensional expert, he now emerged as a true leader, combining strategic brilliance with genuine connection to those he guided. Tsunade formally appointed him head of the Dimensional Affairs Division, with responsibility for maintaining balance between worlds. The Nine Tails, too, experienced evolution through its connection with Naruto's integrated consciousness. The ancient entity, which had observed countless human lives throughout its existence, found unprecedented partnership with a host who could comprehend both its power and its perspective. You've become something unique in any dimension, Brat, the fox commented during one of their internal conversations. Neither hollow nor human, nor Jinchuriki, but something that transcends all three categories. Categories are limitations, Naruto replied, echoing his statement to Aizen. True evolution occurs beyond established boundaries. The fox laughed, its ancient voice carrying newfound respect. Philosophy from a hollow, the universe grows more interesting by the day. 6 months after Aizen's defeat, as the Shinobi world settled into its new multidimensional reality, Naruto stood before the Dimensional Interface Monitoring Station, observing the stable connections between realms. Spiritual entities now moved between worlds according to established protocols. Shinigami trained alongside Shinobi in specialized facilities. Even cooperative Arankar contributed their unique perspectives to this unprecedented alliance. The heart exists, Naruto murmured, echoing his alternate's final words, not merely as metaphor, but as fundamental truth. In that moment, Naruto Uzumaki, the reincarnation of Ulquiorra Cifer, the hollow who had found heart, the analytical mind that had discovered connection, achieved his own transcendence. Not through dominating reality like Aizen had attempted, but through understanding his place within it. Not by rejecting his dual nature, but by fully integrating it into something greater than either origin could have achieved alone. The path forward would bring new challenges, new dimensions to explore, new balances to maintain. But for the first time in either existence, Naruto faced the future with both perfect analytical clarity and genuine emotional anticipation. The void illuminated by heart, emptiness filled with meaning, transcendence achieved not through power, but through understanding. As the sun set over Konoha, casting long shadows across a village, now aware of its place in a much larger multiverse, Naruto Uzumaki completed the journey that had begun with a hollow's dying question about the heart. The answer, he had discovered, lay not in abstract philosophy, but in lived experience, in connections formed, in worlds protected, in the daily choice to balance emptiness with purpose, analysis with emotion, power with responsibility. The final transcendence was not an ending, but a beginning. The dawn of a new understanding that would guide not just Naruto's existence, but the future of multiple dimensions, forever changed by the hollow ninja who had discovered that the greatest power came not from conquering reality, but from finding one's true place within it.
Then that's how Naruto Uzumaki became the most terrifying force in the ninja world. If this fusion of hollow powers and ninja techniques blew your mind, then you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. We've got more insane crossover stories, epic what-if scenarios, and mind-bending character fusions that'll completely change how you see your favorite anime characters. So smash that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and let me know in the comments which other character deserves the Reincarnation treatment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.